hopefully, just share this link. I can't even get out of it. 1 minute. It says I can't minimize Zoom because I'm recording it, but I need to tell people that we're in here. So where we got up to was...
well, is there any point if everybody's not here?
Just like recap for these people.
Yeah. We were basically going over how
maritime law.
Basically how our birth certificates were basically entered fraudulently into a contract with the state, without even knowing about it. We're actually signing away our child's assets to be held in trust, because we're saying, that they're lost at sea, and for the government to keep hold of their things for everything that they own for when they come back. We don't even know that we own it in the first place. We don't know what we're doing. So
we're floated on the stock market as well. Yeah.
Well, the birth certificate comes about because obviously it's all to do with trade and industry, which was done by shipping, hence admiral law. So when a ship pulls into her harbour, it berths, and it's given a certificate to denote the value of the assets that are on board that ship. That's its birth certificate. And essentially the same thing's created for us. We have value. We're considered to have value. That birth certificate becomes a bond on the stock market. They float it on the stock market. And because we're going to be profitable in our lifetime, we're going to generate money for them in the form of taxes, fines, interest, things like that. When we're paying into the system, that we're profitable. So we're the people investing shares in to gain part of that profit for themselves.
I don't know about anybody else, but that makes perfect sense to me. That's like basic economics. Why wouldn't they do that?
Yeah, see, I don't know anything about that. So until now, that never really made any sense to me, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm really
I think it's fucking clever. Yeah. I think it's clever, bastards.
It's devious.
Yeah.
It's devious, very devious. It's like, the level of the deception is ridiculous. So
everybody's in now, I think. Everyone's more or less in. But it's just a couple more people and we're all back in. Thanks to Jennifer for saving the day, because in 5 years of using Zoom, having meetings all across the world, I've never been kicked out, ever.
you were towing the party line then, though, weren't you? You were saying what they wanted you to say and doing what they wanted you to do, so you could do whatever you wanted.
Right.
So we were just have we got everybody back?
I think everybody's here now. I think
Yeah.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Do you recognise anyone that wasn't in here before? Any imposters? Don't know about that Lindsay. Don't know who's there for that Lindsay. Right, everybody's in. Yeah. Kerry, bottom. Yeah, so just going back to where we got cut off about maritime law. So when you're born, you're lost at sea. So all your assets are pretty much taken off you and given away, basically.
Yeah.
So you've got to understand the different jurisdictions, like law of the land, law of the sea, and that kind of commercial law, like corporate law, that kind of thing, civil law.
Essentially, we should.
Law of the sea.
Yeah.
Common law is the only law really that should apply to men and women on land, and admiral law should only apply to businesses. It shouldn't apply to us. So the way that they do it, I'll just recap again. Essentially, when a ship pulls into harbour, it berths and it's given a certificate, and it says the value of the assets that are on that vessel. Essentially, our birth certificate is the same thing. Our assets, the money and the gold that are assigned to us at birth, for our usage that we don't know anything about, basically held in trust. Now, they assign us the lowest military title, like Mr. and Mrs., to make it look like we were sort of part of Admiralty, basically. And they put our surnames in all capitals to make it look like a business name, basically, so that they're able to contract with us, because businesses only ought to be able to contract with each other. A business can't contract with another human being that it's all sort of trading between companies, basically. So we're basically given a name, all caps surname, that makes us look like a corporation. I believe it comes from surety name or something like that. And they basically are contracting with our trust. That it's like a paper copy of ourselves is made.
Your fictitious entity,
yeah,
basically.
it's the legal fiction or the straw man. They make a paper copy of you, this certificate, which is actually a sort of, it's a bond. It's floated on the stock market, because basically we're going to generate profit in our lifetime. We're going to pay taxes, fines, pay interest on things. We're going to be very profitable. So they float us on the stock market so people can invest, and basically they can basically make money, make profit from us, by buying shares in our trust, essentially.
Hi guys, sorry, can I just quickly ask a question? Can you actually verify that by, I mean, being serious, go on the stock market and find yourself on there?
Yeah, if you look, there's a number. I watched Sasha Stone in conversation with BB Bacchus, which is where I got, information from, but she tells you how to do it. Apparently you can get your the number on your birth certificate, that's your bond number, and you can go and have a look for your bond number to see how much money you were generating effectively. Apparently it's millions in your lifetime. Apparently you can go and have a look. I keep meaning to, and I just haven't got round to it. I've got my birth certificate with the number on it, I just haven't got round to doing it. So
and the other quick question, Stacey, you just said you're literally lost at sea when you're born. Can you just clarify what you mean by that?
That's your straw man. So
yeah, well, it's the Setterkay Trust Act. They made this thing called the Setterkay Trust Act. It's like it's spelt. Where is it?
Who made it? Who made that Setterkay Trust?
Oh, I don't know. It is on the. It does say some. It's on the group somewhere. It does mention it on the group who it was that made that. I've not got the details off the top of my head. It's spelled CESTUYQUE, and sometimes it has VIE on the end. It's obviously like Latin or something. Basically, it was made just after the Great Fire of London, this act, and it said that anybody who was lost at sea, you could sign their assets over to the government to be held in trust for when they came back to claim them. But they didn't tell anybody about this because we never used to have birth certificates and surnames, you see. That was something that they came in at, I don't know the exact dates of when they came in. You can research, obviously, the date. But basically...
Does it matter what country you're born in?
Does
it matter what country you're born in?
I'm not entirely sure. I think it's pretty similar. I think it's similar pretty much across the world. I want to
find my gold.
It's in America. It's the same, and in the UK and stuff like that. I think it is pretty much the same across, a decent proportion of the world that they've got.
Yeah. So basically, so if you're born in the Commonwealth, it'd be the same then.
Yeah, anywhere, definitely anywhere in the Commonwealth, it is pretty much the same.
Yeah, because I'm from Guernsey and the Channel Islands, which obviously our head of state's the Queen, but we don't follow UK law as such.
No, it's different. See, this kind of law actually is the only kind of, like the Magna Carta doesn't apply in European countries; it only applies in Commonwealth.
Yeah, it's not a European country. We're a British island. So.
Oh, are you? Sorry, where did you say that you were?
Guernsey.
Oh, I thought you said Germany. Right? Okay. Yeah, Guernsey. Yeah, yeah. You're all right in Guernsey. If anywhere that's either under
Shall I have mine later?
Or
Thanks.
former British rule.
No, I'll have it later.
What, like the US?
Yeah, like the US, but not many people have picked up on it. I think it's anywhere under former British rule, all their documents are all their constitutions are treasonous. You see, they were based on the Magna Carta, but they don't have the full constitutional safeguards. So effectively, that they erode sovereignty, and in that way, they're treasonous. So yeah, basically, the Setterkay Trust Act. What you're actually doing when you sign that birth certificate, that they're tricking you basically. That they're making it appear as though this little person who comes into the world was actually somebody who's been lost at sea, and unbeknownst to you, because you're the informant on the birth certificate. They don't say the parent or the mother or anything like that. You're the informant. You're informing that this person has been lost at sea, and for the government to basically keep hold of their assets. in the trust, which it is really quite complex to understand at first. It takes a while to get your head around it fully, basically because we've never been told about it. We've been deceived. So they basically keep hold of everything that you own and that you were entitled to already, that you didn't even know that you had. You're actually signing that over to them. Apparently, when you go for a mortgage, they're not looking to see if you are allowed to borrow it based on your credit. They actually go and take it from your trust. You're actually signing for that money to come from your trust, and it gets given to them. Now they don't tell you it's yours already and that you can just have that money. They tell you can borrow it and pay it back with interest. So they sort of double dip, basically. It's like they get the money for themselves anyway, and then they get interest on top of it. So
I think it makes perfect sense.
They don't know,
Yes.
they don't know either that that's what's happening, because obviously they've been deceived as well. So it's very clever, but it's like
somebody's just said now, I think is it Johnny's just said it stems from the papal bull of Sanctam, all souls owned by the Vatican.
Well, essentially, it does all. Your birth certificates go back to the Vatican. So admiral law is based on Roman canon law. So essentially, it's come about because of the City of London, which is under Roman rule. Now, the City of London, I don't mean that huge, great big sprawling metropolis down the south of the country. It's actually a small walled area.
It's like a mile.
1 mile square.
Square mile, basically. It's known as the square mile. Now, that was always under Roman rule. The rest of the country, I don't know, I think it's Saxon or something, but that was under Roman rule. And they have like different court system, different policing, different laws, and essentially they have the Corpus Juris court system, which is basically what our court system is all run by now. We have no true courts of law in our country. We should have had common law courts, but actually all we have is foreign corrupt business corporations whose sole purpose is extorting money from us in the form of taxes and fines. They are places of business. They're not courts of law. They're not about sorting out sort of disputes between people or dealing. I mean, they do deal with common law crimes with victims, but they make these minor offences, like breaking the speed limit or parking where you're not supposed to. They make it a punishable offence and punishable financially, so that they want to get money from you. That is their sole purpose, is to get more money from you. Essentially they're sort of, it's a form of control, really. They're just trying to impoverish you by making it so that they, you have no power or control over anything, because they're just going to keep taking your money from you all the time when you.
So just out of curiosity, guys, does that mean we've all basically got a big stash of money sat somewhere that some other, without using the language, so I don't know if the kids have got it, some of them using?
Yeah, like he's got
actually
a yacht with. Is that he's sailing around the Caribbean on a yacht with, basically?
Basically.
So my question is, how do we go and get it back?
Well, I mean, I think we will eventually get it back, but we've got a bit of work to do then before that. Basically, it's because of this, it's come from that small walled area in the City of London, which is always, nobody could really conquer it because it had such good defences and stuff. And it's survived there, but it's sort of crept in through Parliament and Acts and Statutes and the birth certificate and everything. It sort of gradually crept in and replaced our true common law system of justice that we had originally. So we're not, there's no real courts of law. We're not being sort of tried in accordance with the law. We're just being sort of punished financially, in order to sort of impoverish us, really, and keep us under control. So it's all done by the birth certificate and surname. So there's actually even a clause in the Magna Carta which talks about protecting the City of London. Now, we need to remove that clause, essentially, to get rid of the City of London and, the sort of the birth certificates and surnames and everything from the system. So, even the Magna Carta has something in it that needs changing, but we can only do that with a constitutional convention of the people, because obviously it's a law that affects everyone, that everybody needs to adhere to, constitutional law. So everybody needs to have a say in any changes that get made to it for it to be equal and for it to apply equally. So you'd have to have some sort of referendum or something, but there'd obviously need to be a period of re-education before that, because nobody knows about the Magna Carta. They've made sure we don't know about. Nobody knows how the country should be run when it's being run properly. So yeah.
But they've made it so that people want this kind of rule. They've
Well,
made
they
it
think
so
they do.
people don't think that
they
can
just don't know that it's
self-govern.
not law. They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we basically have been left in a situation via the schooling system and the indoctrination system that we no longer, we just don't know how to do anything for ourselves anymore. You know, we're all completely complacent and dependent. Everything happens at the flick of a switch, doesn't it? Really, it's like your water's there, your electricity there, your food's at the local shop. You're completely dependent on other people for your survival, and we've just become helpless. We've been made helpless.
Nanny state.
Yeah, we've been made helpless and sort of afraid to rule ourselves, afraid to govern ourselves, basically, afraid to sort of stand up and say, hang on a minute, I don't need somebody to tell me how to live my life. I can decide for myself how to live my life. But, you know, as long as I do it in accordance with the law and treat the people around me fairly, it's like we don't need a ruler. Obviously we need to be governed, but that's not the same as being ruled. That's just a sort of system of administration for the country. That's all it is. It's not somebody dictating to us or ruling us tyrannically. It's just somebody sort of ensuring that the country runs smoothly, basically. So
what's the future for us then, Julie?
Well, basically, fortunately for us, David Robinson realised that Article 61 was in effect and that we could use it to overcome the system that we're in, basically. Essentially, we're all supposed to unite together and sort of rise up against tyrannical rule in order to quash it before it, gets out of control, which obviously we didn't know. So David Robinson has created an oath. The oath breaks all contracts, including the fraudulently created birth certificate. So essentially, it doesn't physically stop your birth certificate being in existence. That will always be there, and your strawman and legal fiction. It removes your implied consent to the system that uses it fraudulently against you. So we say it breaks all contracts because basically we're going to refuse to comply with the legal system from this point on. The system of acts and statutes and the legal system and Parliament.
I think that's what people struggle with a lot.
Yeah.
And I see it. I'm constantly posting about this, but there's a massive difference between legal and lawful. It's not the same thing, is it?
No,
you can't talk about solicitors and courts and then still be claiming to be under the Magna Carta or law, because it's not different. That's bullshit.
What's the difference between legal and law?
Well,
what is the difference?
Law is...
One's bullshit and one isn't, basically. Legal is bullshit.
Legal is based on acts and statutes, which are just rules and regulations. They're temporary, and they only dictate how we behave in certain situations, like the Road Traffic Act.
To get money out of us and taxes, that's all it is, basically.
It has been applied. It wasn't supposed to be like that, but that's how it's been applied to us. So they're temporary.
That's why they call it. They don't call it law. They call it statutory instruments, legislation.
Legal requirements.
Very careful with the wording.
Legal requirement, don't they?
Laws apply to everybody. So common law, which is how we treat each other, which is do no harm, cause no loss, commit no fraud, and keep the peace. It's just common sense. How the common man should treat it, how common people should treat each other in order just to sort of go about our lives peacefully, respecting each other, do unto others as you would have done unto you. So the acts and statutes, they're just rules and regulations, they're guidance on how we should behave in certain situations, but they're temporary and they shouldn't be punishable. There's no need for them to be punishable. They are literally just part. It's an administration thing, really, that they're just, so how fast to drive. It's the speed limit. It sort of essentially it stops us breaking common law. It's there for a reason. It's there so that we don't hurt each other on the road, so that we don't kill and injure each other. But you know, if you go too fast, you don't need to be fined for it or imprisoned or anything. It's not going to stop you having done what you did. You should probably just be given a bit of extra driving lessons, or you know, I've been on a speed awareness course that was really, really helpful. It was actually worth paying for. So, and I didn't get points, but that sort of thing's actually more beneficial. It actually helps people adhere to those rules and regulations. They should only be made in accordance with the law. That they should only have been granted royal assent if they complied with our constitutional rights, if they, you know, if they were fair, basically, if they were fair to us and sort of complied with the law. So so that's the difference, really. You know, laws apply to everybody. They apply to all men and women on land equally. The Magna Carta made it so that everybody was equal in law.
I mean, that's an unwritten thing, but you, in truth, you set your own laws. As long as you're not hurting anyone. All this legislations and statutes and acts, it's just fucking, I pay no attention to it. I don't give a shit what they're putting through. I get sent it every day, and please, like, I'm not interested. Because I make my own laws, and, you know, as long as I'm not stealing, committing fraud, it doesn't really matter. I just kind of slip through the net. And I've started to see it, like, working in the last 3 or 4 months. I just feel more empowered now, and I know a bit more about this, and that's kind of what we want to share with you, really, so you don't have to fear this bullshit illusion of authority, and it's bullshit. And once you know knowledge, honestly, you can play it to your advantage. I've had some great fun in the last few weeks with police. Love it. Educating them. Because they took an oath.
Where did you actually start looking up all this stuff? Where did you get all your information?
Me?
Yeah, you, Stacey. Julie, either one.
If you just scroll back from my post to June and just look at the journey, because I shared it from the start, I don't really know how I ended up in your group. I don't know how I can't tell you. Somebody asked me the other day. I have no idea how I ended up in that group. But I have no idea. I just knew there was something not quite right with the old system. Maybe I watched The Straw Man. Maybe that was the first thing I watched.
You went on Common Law Court, didn't you? I think they have.
I think I tried to register my birth certificate.
A lot of people come through Common Law Court.
But it had come from the Straw Man.
It
had come from the Straw Man, and that's why I went on the Common Law Court. I watched the Straw Man video, and I was like, oh, fuck, right.
Maybe I'll watch that again. I've watched it once.
Basically the same as the American Constitution, isn't it? Because that's what's protecting them over there.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Magna Carta
is the same, but similar.
We have a binding constitution. It was like, you know, the first human rights laws. Basically, it's sort of based in morality. You know, to make sure everybody was treated equally. And
it can't be overridden. You can't just say, well, that doesn't count. And I've got friends, America at the moment. And they say it's kind of my brother's in Florida. He's been there since the beginning, and he stayed there because of this fucking shit show that's been happening. And he said now it's going pretty much back to normal. And Tucker Carlson, who's the governor there, is a nice guy. And he's said that the lockdowns violate the Constitution and they can't be overruled. So that is the fundamental basic thing. Anything that comes later is like, no, unless they can prove there's an actual emergency, which there isn't, there's no way they can override that. And then there are other states that are using that to overturn the lockdown situation as well. So we definitely need to make people know
a lot more about their. They know about their constitution, and they're really protected.
They have.
We don't even know.
As opposed to earlier, because our history.
We're told that we don't have one, that Britain doesn't have a constitution, when actually our constitution gave rise to all other constitutions.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
The constitution is spread over a number of documents, but it goes back such a long time. Do you know what I mean? It's like it wasn't all written in one document. The Magna Carta was probably one of the first foundational documents. But we've got, you know, the Act of Supremacy and the Bill of Rights and that also make up our constitutional documents. They've all got different laws that restrict the monarchs, you know,
So where do we go from here then, Julie and Stacey? Do you have like a list of stuff we now do to start pumping through this and teaching others and sorting our own shit out?
I think the best thing, you might disagree, but I think the best thing we can all do is learn how to be self-sufficient and stop fucking relying on the government. Switch off the fucking news and the media, cut off the money supply.
Yes.
Stop paying council tax, cut off the money, but do it lawfully. You can't just go, I'm not paying it, because you'll get stung and they'll turn up. You've got to do it honourably and lawfully, and you've got to let them hang themselves, and you've got to ask every question or whatever with another question, turn it around on them, which is to answer that will incriminate them, and they won't be able to, and that's where you just leave it.
And you said you have a process for the council tax, Stacey.
I've winged it. I've winged that one. It seems to work.
Yeah.
I've done a bit of what I've learned off you, and I've done it a bit off commercial, and I've done a bit of everything, but it seems to, I'm just using their legalese. So that, do you know about the language? This is what's going to really catch people out if they don't get to grips with the language. The legal world is not the same. So you're a private, you're in the private realm, you're your own person, you're your own man and woman in the private world. These people are in the public realm. You're in your own jurisdiction. No one can come into that. This is where it makes me laugh when I see all these posts about people turning up at my door, getting me children, schools, kids. This is your private jurisdiction. Your children are your private jurisdiction. No one can do that without consent or without you stepping over there. They will try and drag you into the public realm constantly, and they'll trick you with wording, legalese, all that kind of bullshit. Written form, letters, children, citizen. They use all these words that will trick you. You've just got to know the difference. You know, you haven't got children, you've got son, daughters, you've got little men, little women, whatever, property. You're not a citizen, you know, you're a man, woman. They'll just try and catch you, just sovereign, or whatever you want to call yourself, yeah. Dickhead if you want to, but just know that they've got certain words, and once you say that, you kind of got you. So just always stay in your private realm, always saying it, and just know the terminology they'll use to try and catch you out. And I keep sharing this as well, like the Black's Law Dictionary. It's again, Black's Law Dictionary. Just when you look at the wording and the terminology, it's fascinating, because all this mandatory bollocks, it's not mandatory. That's just an order or a direction. You can choose to ignore it. Must is just a suggestion. Must, and it sounds really, frightening to people, intimidating. You must do this. It's a suggestion. It's mental. I would have been tricked. It's all a bloody lie.
Would you
He's like, right, out of it now, bye.
Would you be happy to share like a demo letter that you sent out around the council tax, so I can get an idea of what type of language you use? Because I'm a linguistic specialist, so I do love this. It
was handwritten, and I wrote it off the cuff in purple pen. So I've got it on my phone, but maybe but that I winged it, like I'm not saying 100% this is going to protect you. I'm not saying what Julie's, but you've got to understand all the bullshit that they'll try and catch you with, and work out a system that works for you. And I think
I already do that.
Other things work for
I'm ignoring everything at the moment. It's just that side of it I've not ever looked into, and this is what I'm interested in. So I've no interest in the government. I'm the same as you, Stacey. When this started, it was like, WTF, what is, hang on, why is everybody just sticking face masks on and wandering and sitting? I haven't social distanced anywhere or worn a mask anywhere, and no one said shit to me. And it's just like, I've just been like in a twilight zone of what is wrong with everybody. So I really do want to know the legalese sort of side of it, so I can just start ploughing through this and helping others understand.
Yeah, you're always traveling, you're not driving. So I've just been for a meeting before I met Julie with some guy who's making a self-sustainable food packages. I'll tell you about that as well in a bit. It's brilliant. But he got stopped by the police on the way to meet me. That's why I was just trying to help him. And he didn't know the system. He didn't read my post this morning. And they were trying to get him out of his car, saying he was speeding. He doesn't even know if he was. But they will try and get you out of the car. It's little tricks. And it's a verbal contract. Can you please step out of the car? No. Have I committed a crime? No. Where's the victim? Bye. Are you driving in this car? No, I'm traveling. I'm traveling on a highway. If you wanted to engage, you can trick them. But once you know a bit more knowledge, it's just the same few questions they ask you to trick you. And it's the same regurgitated nonsense. And if you know what they're doing, don't fall into that jurisdiction, you're free to go.
Yeah, I've done that one just as a heads up. I have a lot of friends that are police officers and stuff, and I was asking him about that. And I said to him, when I'm traveling in a car, if I get stopped and they want my details and I say no, what is the option that they have to actually arrest me at what point? And he said the only time they can actually force you for details is if you look like someone or you're traveling in a car that has been reported of committing a crime.
Yeah.
Then all you have to do is give them your name.
Yeah.
You don't have to give them your address. He said that's the only thing. They cannot arrest you or take you. You just tell them who you are. You don't have to give a date of birth and address.
What?
He said, but if they say a car like yours has been spotted down the road doing X, Y, Z, then he said he's recommending you just give them your name, because then that gets you out of it. But he said the same as you. If you say to them what crime have I committed, and then I'm happy to give you my details.
Even then though, as we've just been saying earlier, you don't own your name. So if they're trying to give your name, they're trying to coerce you into committing fraud.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
And,
he did. Yeah.
in doing that. Yeah. In doing that, they're trying to remove your rights, which is the equivalent of statutory rape, which carries 7 years. So just say to them, if you want to go ahead with this, then this is what's going to end up with you.
Then you're raping me, basically.
Yeah. And then you can start giving them an invoice for the time that they're wasting as well. So I know somebody's done that. So,
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I earn quite a lot every hour.
You've got to turn this system around and stop worrying about it.
Yeah, I like that approach. Yes.
Yeah.
I was watching Straw Man earlier, and it said the only time that you're legally required to give your name and address is when you are driving a car, and that's because we've registered the car.
But even then, you're not driving; you're travelling. In the Black's Law Dictionary, if you're driving, it's a commercial vehicle. You're transporting goods or something.
Yeah, driving in a car.
Well, no.
You're travelling in your own.
They're tricking you. That's why they're trying to get you out of that car. They're constantly pull over. Can you remove? Can you get out of the car? Why? Because you're in your own property, in your own jurisdiction. That's why they're desperate to get you out.
It sounds exactly like the English language, basically. So you agree to it because
your legal name.
You think you know what you're agreeing to.
You think you're being polite and
well, you just
going along with the law. It's bullshit.
The language sounds so much like the English language that you don't know that you're agreeing to an entirely different definition. You don't know what you're agreeing to because you don't know what they're saying, because the words that they use have a completely different meaning in legalese and in the Black's Law Dictionary. They've you don't know what you're agreeing to, so you just go along and agree to it. And
Jennifer's just said, what if they pull you out? Well, that's kidnap.
Yeah, essentially.
There's no victim.
That's not assault.
There's no victim.
That's not assault if they put their hands on you.
If they grip you and pull you out, it's assault. So, but I mean, we've sort of got a process that we use that's a bit different, haven't we? To that. I mean, you can try and learn their language and, sort of trip.
It's really useful. I think you should learn the language because it'll get you out of so much and you'll protect yourself. I've learned it. It's dead easy.
Definitely going about.
I saw a video of people just saying, when the cops were coming up, just simply saying, I don't answer questions, and the cops were just walking off, not even engaging in it, just I don't answer questions.
Yeah, I put a post about that this morning saying if you're a bit short on confidence and knowledge, just say that.
Yeah.
If you want to be a bit of a clever bastard,
essentially, it's like they shouldn't be coming and asking you any questions in the first place if they don't actually suspect you of committing a crime. So if you had actually done something, they'd persist because they'd have a valid reason to do so, I suppose, wouldn't they? So, yeah, I mean, effectively, we with
you a policeman, Johnny? Is Johnny a policeman? He keeps. What you've got intel. He said, "Yes,
no,
you understand."
I just hate any kind of authority.
Have you had any run-ins with the law?
Not that I can discuss on here.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he's right. Do you understand? That means like, are you under my authority? And that's you always say no. Do you understand? No, because I've been arrested twice abroad, and I just it's like, please arrest me. Yes, I do understand. And when I look, I'm like, fucking hell, you stupid idiot. So yeah, you never understand. No, don't be on about. You enter into a verbal contract with them, so no.
I think you have to sometimes even be careful with saying no, because it's still an acceptance of the question. Like you were saying about answer a question with a question. I think that's the best way to go about it, because I think even in saying no, that I think that there's potential for that to be judged as an acceptance of their statement.
Okay.
So,
what would you normally answer it in your experience, Johnny?
No, I do not. Well, I'd qualify it by saying no, I do not stand under that statement.
Right. Okay.
Stacey, on one of the lawful dissent videos that showed all about the straw man, there was quite a few situations with police in various places, and I just kept hearing people saying, "Am I obliged to?" And at that point, the police couldn't do anything because they couldn't say, "Yes, you are." So that was, everybody just kept repeating in all these situations, "Am I obliged to?" And they were pretty stuffed, really.
Yeah. It's just knowing, like, they have the same spiel, they have the same tricks to trap you with. It's just knowing how to answer them. I'm doing, if anyone's in Manchester, I'm going to do a meetup next week with some role plays, if anyone, because people keep asking me about this. I think people, because we're living in such a fear factory in the UK, I think people just want to be more empowered and know how to handle these situations. And it's to do with Magna Carta and everything. It's just the whole system. So they feel more, equipped to use these tools. So I'm going to do that next week if anyone's in Manchester. Jenny, I don't know anyone else. If anyone else in Manchester.
Plus, politely remind them of their oath as well.
Yeah, but they don't when you ask them, they don't understand what their oath is about. They think they're upholding the government's policies. I had the same conversation with a couple of policemen the other night. Because I make an effort now to go and speak to police to test out my newfound skills, which you should do. You should just go, fear these people. They're your servants. They're public servants. They work for us. So I've been running up to them every time I see them. Come on, what's your oath? Tell us your oath. Go on. So it's important to lose the fear. Like, we're all living in a fucking fear factory in the UK. And once we just stop seeing it that way and just think, let's turn this around to our advantage. And so what's the worst that could happen? You won't even know if you get shot anyway. Who gives a shit? So, I think we've just got to see it as a bit more of a game.
It's not that you'd even get shot. I mean, they can't.
No, but they
it's a game.
Really.
There's nothing really to fear. It's all an illusion.
What are you really doing wrong if you're not wearing a mask, or if you're not, if you're standing too close to somebody, or if you're in somebody's house that you shouldn't be, or something? I mean, what have you actually done wrong? What can they do to you other than give you a fine?
Nothing.
They can't do anything worse than that, really, can they? I mean, so what if they drag you through courts and stuff? It's like, what's the fun if we don't stand up for ourselves now, while it's still actually, there's nothing really actually to stand up for ourselves against at the moment. They're not enforcing anything. There's the odd video that goes out, but in the main part, I don't social distance, don't wear a mask, I go to people's houses, nobody's bothered me at all, do you know what I mean? And generally it's like, nobody's really been bothered at all about it. And even when they were bothered about it, because there was nothing that they could do. I mean, the worst that we had was that pub that we did a talk in, and the police turned up and started they just kept turning up, basically. The council wrote to them and the police kept turning up for a few times, but because there was actually, I said, well, they wouldn't do that. If there was actually something that they could do and they could get money out of them, or they would have done it by now. Yeah. So eventually
they've not been back since, though. So me and Julie were doing a series of meetups in this little countryside pub where they didn't have any social distancing or anything, and then they were getting hassled from the police, and then I waited for them on the last time, and they turned up with the licensing, and I had a word with the police and just reminded them, and I said, you're actually bullying and harassing people, and it's for you to prove there's a threat, not for her to prove she's safe. And what is COVID safety anyway? You define it. And they've not been back since. So you just got to turn it around for people. So they've not been back. So, but I just see it as a game. Have a bit of fun with these people. Don't worry about them. It is. Just... Yeah.
No, I mean, I think you've got to stand up for your rights now, and stand up for yourself now, like literally while there really is no threat against you, because what's to come is so much worse than the way, what you're trying to defend yourself against now, wearing a mask or not, or standing too close to somebody, it's, what's to come is going to get so much worse. It's going to be, forced vaccinations and things like that. And you know, certificates,
No way.
ID that allow, you know, you basically can't access anything. It's going to be Agenda 21, the New World Order, the Chinese social credit system, where, you know, you can only gain access to things if you comply, and if you trot out the government mainstream rhetoric and things like that, it's, you know, what's to come, it is much worse. We're all sort of pretty much going to be enslaved. We're going to be impoverished and enslaved, and, you know, forced.
So will we?
Smart city things. So it's like,
will we be covered if we're if we've done the oath? Will we?
Right, well, the way
do we have any protection?
To a certain extent, yeah, but it does basically involve you learning the law and how to protect yourself. Now, we do have things that can help you out with that a bit, but the oath, basically, it gives you lawful excuse to break acts and statutes. Taking your oath also sort of actually removes your implied consent to the legal system. We're just not going to consent to it anymore. We're only going to deal with them in writing all the time. We put the police on notice and the courts, so that effectively, once they've been notified of your lawful standing and told that you're upholding the law and protecting the country and its people, if they act against you during that time, they're committing high treason, which still carries the gallows. So that often can be enough to put people off, but obviously you have got to be able to talk with confidence and authority on that matter when they approach you. We have a constitutional caution card that you can read out, because obviously people don't, you know, in the heat of the moment, you sort of fluff your words a bit, don't you? Even if you felt confident before you were approached by the policeman, you can become fearful and you don't know what to say. So we have a constitutional caution card that you would read out to them whilst recording yourself. And then you could also take the policeman's name and collar number and put them directly on notice of the facts as well. Essentially, our notices say notice to agent is notice to principal. So we might put the chief constable on notice. He effectively ought to tell everybody above and below him. He ought to inform his staff that if they act against you, they're committing high treason, because obviously he's allowing them to go unwittingly into a situation where they could commit one of the most serious crimes there is that still carries the gallows. So you can say that to him, like, you know, you can say that to them when you're approached, you know, you should have been informed about this. We have notified the chief constable of this, and you should have been informed, because he's unwittingly left you in the situation where you're going to commit a very serious crime. And if you haven't been informed of that, then you want to go back to him and ask him why that was. So essentially, it's sort of, you know, it's intimidating to them in a way to be told that they're committing a crime and that their organisation has been made aware of it already. So I mean, effectively, they should leave you alone at that point. But obviously, you do have to talk with confidence and authority. Now, there's somebody who tried it on the group, a lady in Cyprus, and they're pretty brutal, the police in Cyprus. Do you know what I mean? Ours are quite tame in comparison. They were really, really rough with her, but she parked in a disabled spot on purpose to try and get their attention so that she could actually test this out. And it is on the group. I'll try and find it and share it again. I mean, maybe you could share it to your page or something. How she dealt with the police and, you know, effectively, you know, got them to leave her alone. It did sound quite scary, the way that they were with her, but she did get them to leave them alone by using this process. So yeah, effectively, if they act against you, they're committing high treason. Now, our notices don't only sort of protect you in law in that sense, they're also gathering evidence against the people who we put on notice, because it has all the treason evidence in it. If you know treason has been committed, you're supposed to report that crime, you're supposed to act on it immediately. Now, we're doing our bit by supplying the treason evidence, we're reporting it to the police and the courts, effectively. So we're not committing any crimes, but because they fail to act on it, they're committing misprision of treason by their failure to act on it, which is full asset stripping and life in prison for that crime. So essentially, we've got this evidence against them that we can use at a future date when we bring them to a trial of the jury of the people. So that's essentially the long-term sort of aim of the group. is to basically restore the rule of law and our true common law system of justice. Now, the only way we can do this is by using Article 61. By using Article 61, it gives us the right to seize buildings lawfully. David Robinson is on our site, and there's a video of him when he seized Glastonbury Town Hall using Article 61. It was just a spur of the moment thing. Apparently, he hadn't particularly planned it. He'd gone in there to talk to them and try. I think he was raising awareness of Article 61 and talking to them about various things, treason and things. And they just weren't, they weren't listening. They weren't bothered. They weren't doing anything. He just said, right, we're going to seize the buildings. So they did, and the police came along and they agreed that he wasn't doing anything wrong. He wasn't breaking the law or anything. So, they stayed in the building for quite a while, but I think essentially the caretaker had to stay there too, and it got to about 2 a.m. and they felt a bit sorry for him and let him go home to his wife. But he's proved that it can be used in that way. So essentially what we need is as many people under oath as possible with the police and courts on notice, so that we can do mass building seizures across the Commonwealth, all in one go, effectively, to sort of put pressure on them. It needs to be organised properly. Everybody sort of goes in, sees buildings. We'll have sort of shifts of people coming in and out. There'll be people trained to speak to the police when they turn up, and essentially carry on until they effectively sort of comply with our demands. Once we get to this point, we'd obviously have all our evidence against them that we could use to take them to trial when we reinstate our true common law system of justice. Big trials like Nuremberg obviously committed the worst crime that there actually is. So some of them have committed high treason, which still carries the gallows. So very serious crimes. We essentially need to try them for their crimes and convict them. We will then be able to sort of select a new monarch and government, but we'll restore our true common law system of justice and the rule of law, and jury nullification in every courtroom, where we get basically strike off every acts and statutes from the statute book that don't comply with our rights. So effectively we ought to be governed fairly again, in the way that we always should have been before it got eroded. We'll also need to have a constitutional convention of the people after a period of re-education to teach people about how their country should be run, teach them the proper information about the Magna Carta and our rights and everything, to remove the clause about the City of London, because obviously the City of London is what was under Roman rule and gave rise to the whole legal system, the admiral law and the birth certificates and everything. Will effectively remove the entire system by removing that clause. They won't have any jurisdiction here anymore. They never should have done. So we'll get it back to a situation where all acts and statutes are made in accordance with our constitutional rights, and where the government is just that. They're the administration service. They have no power anymore. They just carry out our bidding. Police will only be policing us on actual common law crimes that have victims. They won't be the government's henchmen anymore. So we effectively need to take out the system as it is now and replace it back with the fair system that we should have had in the first place. So
does that make sense to people?
Yeah, do you know how many people, Stacey, already have signed over?
It's thousands. I asked Jackie. So if everyone's in the group, is everyone aware of Jackie Phoenix, who's the Canadian admin?
Yeah.
I asked her last night. She's created a database thing.
Yeah, we're trying to get an idea of numbers.
I think it's about 50,000 to 100,000 in the UK. Because people have been doing this long before we joined. People have been doing this for the last 20 years.
It's not 20, it's 10, I think. Well, David Robinson only picked up on it. I don't know.
No, before this, when people knew the barons had invoked the Article 61, people started sending the oaths there. And this is before all Facebook and stuff. So who knows how many people are living like this? Because this is like a way of life. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you just got to spread the word and hope for the best. I don't see another, apart from taking a tank to City of London, I don't see what else we can do, because people in this country, there's too much apathy and laziness.
Yeah.
So what else can we do? This is quite lawful. It's on the ball.
This is done.
You're not pissing anyone off, really.
It's like
you're just slipping through the system.
Be
really.
confident that you're acting within the law and that you're upholding the law, and essentially they're breaking it. Everybody, once Article 61's invoked, we should all take an oath to the Baron. The Barons are supposed to lead us, but they're a constitutional safeguard that's been eroded as well. They should lead us to rise up against tyranny, basically, and to help us to restore the rule of law and the fair system of justice and governance that we should have had. Obviously that's not happening, so it's up to us to do it, but obviously it's spreading the word to everybody. Like, everybody should be under oath, and anybody who's not under oath is acting in outlawry, basically. They're not protecting their country and its people like they ought to be. So it's knowing you can be confident that you are acting within the law. Now they don't know about it because they've been deceived as well, or if they do, you know, the police are scared, you know, everybody's scared to stand up to the government because they're just like this huge, great, big, powerful beast that, you know, is in control of everything now. But only if you allow them to be, only if you consent to it. Do you know what I mean? If we sit here and let it happen, then it will happen, and we've only got ourselves to blame. It's like, we don't have to let it happen. We can do something about it. This is our last chance to do something about it, as far as I'm concerned. I really do think that we're at a pivotal point in time where we can, you know, we can affect wide-scale change using Article 61 if only we all learn about it and how to use it correctly, and spread the word to others to get them to sort of use the process with us. It's all about manpower. It's all about numbers, really. There's more of us than there is of them. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to compel people to stand under law, because if you don't, you're an outlaw. Technically,
once we're under oath, we're supposed to compel others to stand under oath with us. Basically, it's like our notices compel the people that we send them to. We say, you should, you know, we compel you to stand under oath, but obviously they don't know what it's about a lot of the time. So.
Can I just ask a question? Sorry, quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, so I don't know what I've missed because I was trying to get back in, but I just want a quick understanding. So, like, you get under your oath, you get three people to sign your oath off, right? And then your first notice is a lawful standing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's to advise that, like, the courts and the police, that you're standing lawfully under Article 61. Sorry. Right, and then from there, why do you have to finish the other four notices?
Well,
is that not?
They become more seriously in tone. The first one informs them. The second one, because they haven't bothered to reply to you, it gives them another opportunity. So it tells them that basically they're in default.
So I'm sorry, Julie, I've got little in it. Yeah. So what I'm trying to get at is
the second one. Again.
Yeah. So basically, if you send off the first note, if, say, for example, can you, like, do the limited, like, say if you've got people on board.
If you do all five notices, basically, the second one tells them that they're in the default position, that having received that first notice, they're now in the default position where they've accepted our claims, that they've accepted and confirmed that Article 61 is still in effect, and they're aware that treason has been committed. So it's called default opportunity to cure, because it gives them another chance to write back and to deny our claims. So the third one is notice of default, which says, right now you're definitely in the default position. We've sent you 2 notices. You are now in default. You definitely agree to the claims that we have made in our notices. Well,
all the notices that you send practically beg them to say that we're wrong.
Yeah.
And it's not in effect.
So the fourth one basically is telling them, if, having accepted what our claims that we've made and essentially agreed to them, tacitly agreed to them by their failure to respond or respond in substance, if they now bother us at all or make any demands on us, they're coercing us to aid and abet treason. So you're making it very absolutely clear and making sure there's no misunderstanding about it at all. They will be coercing you to aid and abet treason. They try to force you to comply with the authorities, acts, statutes, legal system, because
Okay, so basically you're completing the 5-point notice. Oh, yeah, I'm muted. You're completing the 5-point notice to then, in essence, so they're saying, right, okay, if they try and put you under any statutes or legislation,
Yeah.
Basically, then you then carry on. You do the same thing again. So you use the 5 notices.
Essentially, it depends what they do, but generally it's going to be something like a fine or something. So if you're not wearing a mask, I'm going to fine you. You've got a parking ticket like I have again today, going to fine you. We've got a conditional acceptance process for that. So it's a similar thing, but we conditionally accept the demands that they make on us if they can prove that Article 61 is not in effect. So it all comes to them. It comes down to them every time having to prove their authority, because while Article 61 is in effect, they have no authority to make any demands on us, and they know it.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So basically, also, then, because I noticed on the first notice it said lawful standing and conditional notice of acceptance. So is that like the kind of is it a dual document?
Accepting any future demands that they might make on you. On the basis of them proving that Article 61's been revoked, and it definitely has.
Okay, because one question, the one thing I found is like there's a hell of a lot of paperwork, and isn't there any way to like condense this down so you not have to print it off so much, because you're talking like 20 pages for one notice.
Yeah, you can condense it down by making the font smaller for a start. So if you're altering it electronically, make the font a lot smaller, and that makes a lot less paper. It comes out on a lot less pages.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do. I mean, I've got yeah, of course, yeah. And then one other question I've got is in the sense of implementing this within what's going on at the moment, and obviously, like, you can see that businesses are suffering. I mean, obviously, Stacey, you've been doing stuff with certain pubs or something I've seen on Facebook. You did about, like, you can see these people are suffering. They're wearing masks when you go in there. They're now being told they've got to collect details. Obviously, I've not actually consented to any of it. I've not worn a mask. I've never given any details. I mean, I can understand. I've never understood anybody being above anybody anyway, because how can anybody be above anybody else?
You were born sovereign. All these people haven't been born.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just a misconception of the mind that people have made to believe that like something's higher than they are, because even if people say God's higher than us, we are God anyway, because we're all made of the same stuff, let's say. But in relation to, say, for example, would it be worth going to these? I would like to go to these businesses and say, look, I can see you suffering. I can see your business might be suffering from, what these things that have been put in place. And like, can we kind of? How do you get around? Because it's commerce then.
Yeah, I know that.
So do they have to abide? Do they have to abide by these mandates?
Essentially, it does actually, because once you step into a business role, you're not a sovereign anymore. So, for example, a government official, when they go to work, they sort of leave their sovereignty to one side and step into a sort of job role effectively. So they do have rules and regulations that apply to them, and because it's commercial, it actually those rules, regulations, and legal system, it's all commercial and contract law, so it does actually apply in the business realm. So it's a bit difficult in the. I mean, if you're a sole trader, it's a bit easier sort of thing, because obviously you are still yourself, but essentially you sort of register as a business still, so you do sort of have to comply in that sense. And this is essentially a process which is just for people going about, men and women going about their day-to-day lives, and not sort of having to comply with the system of acts and statutes and the legal system effectively, any agents of the Crown, because they have no authority. They have no authority at all since Article 61 was invoked to sort of place at all. So it's essentially to deal with those situations when you're sort of private life.
I'm just laughing at the chat because somebody. Someone's asking about the mask thing. To be honest, I've not once said I'm exempt. I've just said, I said I'm not stupid. I've said I'm not stupid, and the other one I said I like to see smiling faces, and then another time I've just said I can't breathe, like George Floyd said. Use his line.
Well, I've always taken it as an offer. So I take everything as an offer, and they're saying to me, because they say, have you got a mask? They haven't said, can you put one on to me? They've always said, have you got a mask? And I go, no thanks. So I take it as an offer, and I just refuse the offer. And then someone tried to stop me going in the shop the other day, and I was like, I saw someone go around the cattle grid, and he was talking to him, like saying, what do you want from the shop? And I just went to walk in, And he goes, "Oh, can you stop there for me?" And I was like, "No, thanks," and walked in, carried on. So it's kind of, I just refuse in their service.
Yeah, that's what you've got to do. I feel sorry for people who wear masks. It's like
somebody offered me.
When did it become bad to breathe freely? It's crazy. It's like something. It's mental illness. It's mental illness.
But isn't that they've been made to believe something that isn't true? So it's now a belief system, which is something that's hard to crack. You know.
Well, it's mental illness. That's what it is. They've managed to convince people it's a sin to breathe freely. It's mental. There's something wrong with people who do that. It's not even questioning anything.
It's all intentional.
No self-worth, and they've all got headaches. When you stop and ask them, they're all struggling. They've got headaches.
That they could hardly breathe.
Yeah, but they're still doing it. It's definitely it's a mental issue. It is.
They've been convinced that they need to do it to protect other people, though.
But at the expense of yourself.
That's
mental.
That's
mental
how
illness.
they're going to bring in the vaccine. It's going to be the herd immunity thing. Like they do this whole herd. You know, your vaccine will only work if everybody else has their vaccine too. Your mask protects other people. That's you know, we have anti-maskers now in preparation for anti-vaxxers. So we have like forced, you know, mandatory.
You can't get herd immunity by vaccination anyway.
Sorry?
You can't get herd immunity by vaccination anyway.
Yeah, I know. No, nobody knows that. People genuinely think that that's the only way you can get herd immunity. It's only been proven in a herd of cattle that had natural immunity. So, yeah, people are just convinced by the lies, though, and they'll go along with it. You know, the mandatory sort of being allowed into places with masks is getting you used to the fact that you're probably only going to be allowed into places and to access things if you have a vaccine and you have a certificate or something to prove it. So
a yellow star or something. Yeah.
Don't get me started on the yellow stars.
I recently filled out, it was a questionnaire about, you know, them changing the law. It's been circulating recently, and there's a standard reply if you're saying that you disagree. And the two top things that it says in that letter is that the two most important things are clean water, which made me laugh because our water's toxic, and vaccinations. Those were the two top programming everybody who is saying, no, I don't agree with you changing the laws on medication. So that's what they're just sending out to everyone, spewing more of their, you know, programming.
I pay no attention. I had an email, which I don't know how he's got my fucking email address, from the local mayor the other day. He's telling me that there's massive spike of virus cases in the area and blah, blah, blah. And to prevent further lockdowns. So I wrote back saying, can you explain Sweden? No response.
Yeah, I've been questioning local authorities in my town because they've been fear-mongering, saying they're going to lock down because of certain areas. I think they had some tests I think probably some people did them from Amazon. There was like dead sketchy reports in the news, like local news, and they've been threatening it. So I've been actually questioning them because obviously they're our civil servants. We pay their wages. So I've been giving them evidence and saying, look, you can stop the fear-mongering about locking the place down because the tests, I know we're going off on a tangent here, but this is kind of like we need to get solutions for these issues and see how we can get through them because it seems to be like a common theme. But when I've questioned them, I get no response whatsoever. When people I've spoke to say it's not their remit. And then basically they turned around and said, I basically, given the evidence, say, look, the laws, the statutes that have been passed under the Infectious Disease Act. The test can't say whether you're infectious or not.
It's not law.
It's not law. No, it's statute. Yeah. It's just it's nonsense. Really. It's not me signing, putting a few rules down a piece of paper and passing it to you and going, right, you got to follow them, or I was going to fine you.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, it's all by consent. Yeah. So I've started questioning the narrative and counteracting it in respects to the information they're putting out without any evidence. I'm then supplying evidence in the contrary to try and kind of counteract it a little bit. But obviously, we can then use the notices then to counteract all this information they're putting out there. Is that in essence, can we do that? Is that in essence how we can use Article 61? So if they're putting stuff out, say,
not really, that's
you've got to wait.
That's not really.
No, I mean, basically the notices, it's just a refusal to comply with them in any way.
The best thing we can all do is just not to comply with any of it.
It's a total refusal to
yeah.
That's the best thing to do.
Whilst being protected within the law, like we're within our rights within the law, to not comply with them. So we just won't engage with them at all. It's like shunning them, you know, it's like giving them the cold shoulder.
That's why we don't protest. That's why I've stopped protesting
we don't
now.
protest, we
don't protest.
We don't sign petitions. It's basically sort of almost like shunning them, pretending that they're not there and they're not that they don't exist anymore. Complete
the fact that
refusal to comply, except under extreme duress of circumstances. So you basically, unless they literally come and kidnap you and drag you in, kicking and screaming to a police station, you know, you do your best not to comply.
If you start petitioning and protesting, you granted them authority when they don't have any to begin with.
Yeah,
so,
it's like acknowledging
it's
like they don't exist anymore. They don't have authority since the invocation of Article 61. You know, the monarch should have been dethroned.
I see what you're saying. So that
continue due to people's ignorance of the law. So
I see what you're saying. So in essence, you just kind of, because it's all been dissolved, they are basically just operating unlawfully, and you completely just ignore it.
It'd all come. If people knew, it'd all just come falling down like a house of cards. If people knew about this,
I don't know what it's like in everyone else's towns or cities and stuff like that. But I mean, like a little village like Burton-on-Trent, it's quite, you know, very few people like myself, let's say, that will go in a shop without a mask. Even my close mates, close friends, you know, I spoke to them, they wear one and just do it for an easy life.
New mates. Get some new mates.
But the thing is, people don't know what else to do. Everybody I know does it, but they're doing it, and when you start talking to them, they don't agree with it. They don't believe in what's going on. They don't think it's necessary to wear a mask, but they're just following the herd. They just don't want to stand out. They don't want to take a stand on their own because they're afraid. I think they don't. Stand out in the crowd. Because there's all these scare stories about people attacking each other in arrests, and they don't know how to use the law to protect themselves. Or how to stand up for them. I mean, I used to go along with anything. If I got fined, I'd just pay it. Do you know what I mean? Didn't think to question it ever. Never challenged it. I would just pay. I'd just go along with anything. And, you know, I feel fully confident that I'm acting within the law. And that's you know, that's good enough for me, if you know what I mean. I feel it's empowered me, if you know what I mean. So it's
it makes sense.
Knowing
quick question on, can I ask a quick question?
Sorry.
So quick question on the notices. I just want, to maybe seem like a very stupid, a very idiotic question to ask. Obviously, I'll send off my lawful objection to the court and the police.
Yeah.
If they don't reply within 10 days, I'll then send the second notice, the notice of default opportunity to cure.
Yeah.
And if they don't reply again, you following it through to get.
Just keep going through. Yeah. You just keep going through till you get to the end, and then you can breathe a sigh of relief.
You've got to give 10 days in each.
I mean, if they reply, which they sometimes do, but they don't, you know, they don't reply in substance or anything, then you can obviously send one straight off. But it's only, to be fair, to be honest, it's to give them a reasonable amount of time to reply. We're being honourable, or we're always remaining in honour throughout this process. We're being honourable. They're in dishonour. You know, it's making that distinction. We're upholding the law. We're being honourable. We're trying to do the right thing, and they're the ones that are basically in default and dishonour, and they're the ones committing the crimes and failing to act on crimes that we're reporting because they're just too scared and ground down by the system, just like everybody else, and they're scared of losing their jobs. They don't know. They've been dumbed down as well. They've had no education. It's all been taken off their education system as well as ours. So.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that clear in my head, so thank you very much for answering that.
Can I?
Oh, so Scarlett's asking about, can we cover off the notice process from the beginning to end? Has anyone done the notice process from beginning to end? Jenny, have you done the notice?
We're on. We're actually on. We're only on number 2 because we left such a massive gap between everything. So we've done
we've like done a multitude of people, but we haven't completed the process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm on the very last ones now. The only response, in fact, it's down there. The only response I've had from any of them.
We all got this, didn't we?
Yeah.
Every single one of us.
Manchester magistrates saying that they're looking. Several points regarding constitutional law, application of the Magna Carta, but then it was, what? Give me the date of the court decision you wish to claim about.
Yeah,
It's like, it doesn't. It's just a generic dog's body. It's like
they try and dodge around it by pretending that they don't understand or that what you've written doesn't make sense, and it's like it's very clear. The notices are very clear.
This person is an idiot though, because he's said, I'm looking for the court case about the Magna Carta, so he's a fucking idiot. So I'll just say the next one. So
yeah,
quick question about the court.
Yeah.
I phoned Southampton Crown Court and asked them for the Clerk of Justice, and they said, you got to send the Crown Court team. And I said, no, I need a name, please. And they're still refusing to give me a name. So I tried Winchester Crown Court, exactly the same response.
You want the magistrates court for a start. It needs to be magistrates court because they're the ones that deal with sort of minor offences, which are the only ones that you're going to be committing, if you know what I mean, minor sort of offences. And if they won't give you the name, tell them that they have to give you the name because they're public servants, and if not, it's misconduct in public office. So that could hopefully make them give you a name. If not, post to the group and ask if somebody else has got the name, because other people have probably sent notices there and might have the name already, or somebody that they've dealt with because they've got a fine or summons or something like that. So
it should be on LinkedIn. Andy, have a look on LinkedIn.
All right, are they?
Yeah,
that's a good point. Never thought of that. Thank you.
I would look for you, but obviously the deplatforming. Yeah.
You're not the only one, Stacey, because I'm still not back.
Really? 3 people were rejected from there last Friday, 3 of my friends. So yeah, everyone's getting deplatformed off there now. So once you get political and fascist, you're over. So
one of my friends, she's a lawyer. She's been removed from Facebook for obvious reasons because she's standing up against all this corona bollocks. And she woke up this morning and that Google have removed all her business accounts from all the links to her business accounts.
What?
Yeah, she lost all her documentation, everything. Google have just shut everything down.
What kind of lawyer was she, Andy? What kind of lawyer was she?
Sorry?
What kind of lawyer was she?
Personal law. She's basically going around answering, because she's basically helping people out in this. I couldn't tell you exactly what a lot of things because I don't know that well, but she messaged me this morning and said all her notes and everything else she's written about certain cases coming up, she's lost them all because Google's just shut everything down, deleted all her accounts.
It's unusual that they remove someone who normally is there to protect the system.
Yeah, she was on Facebook. Layla Stanley, her name is.
Oh.
She was on Facebook, but yeah, she lost all her accounts and everything on all her internet accounts, everything.
If you can connect me to her, I won't mind speaking to her.
Yeah, okay, I will do.
Cheers. Notices or oaths? The notice period, the notice process.
Yeah.
So
you wanted
the oaths,
right? So you just want to talk about the steps from the beginning to end, sort of thing. So the first step is taking the oath. You can send it to Lord Craigmile, or there's another one that you don't have to send it to Lord Craigmile. It's called an oath to self. The reason we send it to Lord Craigmile is because sending something registered post and getting the postal receipt makes it undeniable in law. That's the reason we send everything registered post. So they can't say that it hasn't been received. So we've got evidence that they've received it. Then the first notice is the notice of lawful objection and standing in law. We do have all this in the unit section on the group, by the way. It's step-by-step process with instructions. So it's the lawful objection and standing in law, where you're informing them of your lawful standing, giving them the opportunity to say that Article 61 has been revoked, and reporting the crimes of treason effectively, because you're duty bound to do that by law. The next one you follow up with, assuming they don't reply.
It sounds a bit old school, doesn't it? It sounds a bit like, what the fuck is this going to do?
It is, yeah. I mean, it is, but it's
it is old school, isn't it?
It is, but when the barons did actually invoke Article 61 in 2001, they did say that the laws are still working, but they're a little rusty.
Yeah,
he did say that.
It does, yeah.
So
yeah,
they are. It's just because people aren't used to this way of speaking, and what the hell's a fucking
old
open? You know, like
English
it is a bit odd, and you just think I'm not seeing
kings
any.
and queens and barons.
I'm not seeing any progression or anything, but I
Yeah.
think just if we all just keep doing it, they're going to have to listen at some point. And I wrote a letter to Boris Johnson about vaccinations, just to test all this. Very lawful, very honourable, saying it was a conditional offer to accept that I sent to a vaccine, and I said I'd like 10 million in damages, but I'm happy to take the vaccine if anything goes wrong, like 10 million. The next day, so he signed for it. The next day, the vaccination damages have changed on the government website, like literally the next day. Like fucking, so they are listening. It said like there was no damages, it was like stupid amount or something, but I asked for 10 million. So yeah. But he signed for it, so yeah. So there is something in it. People are reading it, whether they're not replying. They can't reply to this kind of thing, can they? It's not like they can't admit to aiding treason.
They can't write back and agree with you. I mean, we've got them sort of in between a rock and a hard place. They can't say that Article 61 has been revoked because it hasn't been, and it can only be revoked by the people when we get redress for the monarch's crimes and the government's crimes. And they just don't want to deal with treason. I mean, they just don't want to go and arrest government officials, basically, because obviously the people that are behind them, we all know the sort of people like
criminals.
Gavin said, that they're just puppets, aren't they? But the people behind them are even more serious criminals than the puppets that we see. So it's no wonder they're afraid to challenge the system. I really don't blame them. Do you know what I mean? But it's essentially there's more of us than there is of them. We ought to all be challenging the system together, and we can change it if we do. That's what Article 61 is about, uniting together and effecting wide-scale change.
And just stop complying. That's the best chance we've got to change, just mass non-compliance. Peaceful mass non-compliance. That's the best thing we can do, and that's what this is about.
Can I jump in for a second and say, I don't know if you can hear me. I think people generally are joining in because as human beings, we group together like chimpanzees, you know, the group protects the group, and that's the zoological sort of side of our, you know, people are doing this because they care about each other, and they do it, but they're conned into doing this because they haven't done the research and they've been programmed and they've not had the you know, been as an ex-primary school teacher who gave up because I just couldn't stand the system, because we were programming people, we were programming children, we weren't teaching them to think. So I think a lot of people join in not because they're stupid or mental, just
they don't know how not to.
They're doing it from a caring position, but they've not got the knowledge, and they're stuck in this groove of watching Netflix and BBC and things, and you know, but that's been promoted, that's been pushed for years and years to just stop people thinking. So it's about awakening you. It's about saying to people, you know, it's about questioning people and asking them, does it make sense? Why does it make sense? Often asking people, if you tell someone, the wall goes up. Oh no, you're telling me, I don't want to know. But if you ask people, well, how does that? Why is that? And you know, people say, oh, I know it's true. Well, how do you know it's true? Well, I saw it on the BBC. Well, how do you know they're telling you the truth? Well, when they get stuck.
It is.
When they get to that point, that's when you get the change, because if you keep saying, how do you know it's true? How do you know it's true? To each question, then they come to a point where they cannot come up with an answer other than having to stop. It's a great thing I learned on a training thing. How do you know it's true?
It's great if you've got the patience. I don't have any patience.
I know. You get to the point where you go, no, I've got my life energy's gone.
I think they'll wake up when they're ready.
When they're ready, leave them for now. But this is for.
If you know what I mean, people are the ones that you wouldn't have expected, and the ones that were doing it all. They are starting to wake up. Everybody's journey is different. You know what I mean, and everybody's going to wake up in their own time. That's why I think it's essential. We prepare ourselves and learn the knowledge to the best of our ability, so that we've done everything necessary and we're there to support them when they do that, because they're going to wake up into a much worse situation than what we woke up into, and they're going to be terrified. Do you know what I mean? So we need to be there to support them. So it's essential that we learn basically
Yeah.
And how to use.
So for us going forward,
so that we can.
Have you got a sort of format that you would like us as a team, as a group who come together? Have you got a set format that you think might help? That you know, have you got a blueprint for what we can do?
Has left us a strategy that to follow. It's in the topics section.
Okay.
Strategy proposed in short and in long, with the sort of short details of what he thinks needs to happen, and then a long strategy, a plan of what he believes needs to happen in order to affect this change. So the strategy is there. We're currently obviously trying to become a bit more, because you know, nobody could have predicted this situation. This has just been like a little movement that's been bumbling along quietly, and you know, it had about 15,000 members on the original UK group, and it's been going for like 10 years, something like that, under David Robinson. And all of a sudden coronavirus hits and everybody came piling into the group. So obviously it's gone madly busy because everybody's looking for an answer now. Everybody's looking, you know, for a way to protect themselves against what's to come and what's happening around them. So it's gone crazily busy. So we're trying to basically train up more admin, but obviously we're trying to also get an idea of who's under oath and where, and numbers and things like that. We're trying to spread the word. We're trying to promote the group and what we're trying to do and get more people under oath. So there's quite a lot that goes on in the background. We've got, you know, people in training in various different areas. So basically it's just a case at the moment of trying to get numbers, because that's what we're going to need, huge numbers to be able to see these buildings on quite a long-term basis. Do you know what I mean? It's not just going to be we all walk into a building and we sit there for a while and they comply with us. It's going to be tough. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be really tough, and we need millions of us. We really need millions. We need as many people in the country and all the Commonwealth countries as possible, so that we can have a rota basis of people coming in and out.
David reckons we need about 50 people per building, and it's going to be a peaceful takeover.
Yeah.
So if everybody, basically everybody like is it obviously because you want to lead the way in your communities. That's if you see this as a solution, and it doesn't, you know, I'd like you to, but you know, you've got to do what's best for yourself. I'd love you to go away and start having your own meetups and Zoom calls, and like Jenny's doing, and be great. But we're here to support you as well. But this needs to be. I mean, David said what we need about 3 million for any kind of change. We don't need everyone. We just need enough to topple it. That's all. And you can't wake the sheep up or whatever you want. I don't like the word sheep, but we're not with sheep now, so I'm not being derogatory. But you can't wake everybody up. Just focus on the people that are kind of open to change and want redress. There's no point, because you're gonna go mad. You're gonna go mad.
Well, it's like they say, don't wake a sleepwalker. Don't.
Yeah,
you're
gonna go mental.
It's like, don't wake a sleepwalker. Never wake a sleepwalker, because they will just.
They'll lash out at you.
It's just too difficult a concept for them to deal with.
Cognitive
the world
dissonance
might be a very different place for the one that they've always believed that they're living in. It's just too much for them to handle. Do you know what I mean? They don't see a problem. They don't see anything wrong. They can't see what's happening, really. So there's no point working on those sort of people. You've just got to sort of, you know, work on your own awareness, basically, and the fact that something does need to change. So, you know, we're saving them as well as saving ourselves, if you know what I mean. They just, they just don't know it yet.
Yeah. It's all about like self-sustained communities. Get to know your neighbours. You know, it's all about who you know in the area, who can you swap skills, trades with. Because the way it's going to go, I just wouldn't be relying on anything from these people, government, supermarkets, anything. Just get to know, create your own communities. You know, get people meeting up to discuss stockpiling. I bought some of those, you know, those things that you drink water out of a puddle. I brought loads of them.
I thought about that. Wind up radio.
I need to get some of them. Yeah.
I've got a Berkeley water filter, and I got a water butt, and it filled up already in like 2 days, 210 litres of water. And the water filter can actually filter ditch water.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm sorted water-wise.
Where do you live?
It's called a Berkeley. I live in Bedford.
Where?
Bedford.
Bedford?
I was going to say, if I've run out of water, I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
That's if you've got petrol. We might not have any petrol.
Oh, I know. Well, that's the thing. We're going to everything's going to be cut off, basically, isn't it? If we don't comply, it's getting to to that point, it's like you say, people's Google access and LinkedIn.
Well, they're conditioning us now to say that we're going to have food shortages and blackouts because they're calling it because of Brexit. So towards the end of the year, I've read two articles already, and I think that's just priming our minds to accept it. So yeah, you really have to prepare. You've got to get you know, food. You've got to get enough food in. You've got to have an alternative way of cooking.
The best thing to buy is for cooking, and get them now because they're all cheap at the end of the summer. Those disposable barbecues, they're all £1. Get loads of them.
Yeah. You don't cook very much for very long. You can get camping.
I know, but they're good for emergencies.
Yeah.
My mate's got 300 in a cellar. 300 of those things.
Really?
Yeah.
I had Protestant set on fire.
Casey, what was that? It blipped out when you said what it was, but it's like £1.
Batteries, I think.
Disposable barbecue. The little foil barbecue thing.
Who said that? Was that Jennifer?
I think so.
Disposable barbecues, you know, those little like the tray. Yeah, they're just good sources of way of cooking if something goes down. My friend's got 300 in a cellar, so.
Would be better just full of coal rather than get a grid.
Bags of bag food, that kind of thing, tins. Just be prepared. It could all be a bullshit just to scare us, because they do want to scare the truth people, the ones that are awake as well. They do want to scare us as well. So it's important not to give you too.
Wait, isn't it just doesn't it like just come down to the fear thing again and control? Because isn't fear? You scare the shit out of you. You know it's going to be a war, and you think of all the things in the past. It's like the world's going to end and all this stuff that's gone in the past. And everyone's like, people have sold their stuff and gone to live on the mountains, and it's not happened. Do you know what I mean?
But if you buy extra food and things, you'll use it. You'll use it eventually. So if you don't need it,
not a bad thing,
give it to a food bank or something. I've got. I'm not even going to tell you how many toilet rolls I've got, but I won't be running out.
It's just to be prepared and get to know your neighbours in your community. That's the best thing you can do. You can all support each other. If you haven't got a community, or like Gavin, your friends are fucking mask wearing idiots, then get some new friends. Or just
that's the thing though. That's the thing. So I say two of my friends, close friends, they're really awake, and one guy's like, oh yeah, it's conspiracy theory mad. Another guy's like Mr. Vegan. Not I've got anything against anybody, any vegans, whatever you do is up to them, that sort of thing. But it's the fact they wear it because they think they're going to get a fine. It's not that they want to wear it. Like even one of the close mates was saying, like if everyone was told tomorrow to take them off, they probably would. But it's always that fear of, oh, I better put my seatbelt on because I'm going to get a fine.
I was making excuses for those people at first, going, oh, they're the most scared. And now I just think, she bloody lack of ignorance, lack of fucking education. You sat watching, fucking go and do some reading, you bloody ignorant bastard. You're making it worse for children. You're making it worse. So no, I'm not got patience now, and I don't care.
Well, I'm the same, to be honest, but I have got time of day because they are still my friends. So you just kick everything.
Wear it anyway, so I don't want confrontation.
Still doing it.
Oh, get a fucking spine.
It doesn't do any harm, and it's like, no, you've got no idea how much harm it's going to.
I say that. I say it's not just a mask. It's just a mask today. What is it tomorrow?
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, it's not even that. It's
where it's heading.
Even
where it's heading. You know.
Yeah, even though the evidence, if evidence is there to say they're no good, let's say, and people are told that blatantly, they're no good for you, people still choose to wear them. But it's not even about health, is it, anymore? It's about compliance, control.
Yeah.
So does that not where the fear lies, is the control? I mean, again, we're going off, I feel like we're going off topic a little bit, because again, all this sort of stuff to me doesn't really, I don't comply, so I just, to me, it doesn't mean anything. But when my mates are kind of going, oh, yeah, I don't want to, I'll wear one just to, like you just said, they wear one just so they don't get a fine or whatever. It's like, how can you crack that fear? Because if you saw, I know what you're saying, Stacey, go and get new friends, but in a town like Burn-on-Trent, there's not many people that are on our level, let's say. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I've been awake for, 10, 15 years, so I know this shit was going on a long time ago. I mean, I started a what do you call it? It was like a site, conspiracy theory site 10 years ago, and I was literally the only person I knew, apart from one other guy, that was on my level. Sorry.
Are you stuck in Burton upon Trent, isn't it, Gavin?
Say again, sorry.
What are you stuck there? Did you not move? You didn't physically move. I don't mean move, relocate. I just mean you're not able to make friends in other towns, or.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying. I don't know what. You see, no, because obviously now.
Where I am, I'm in the city centre of Manchester, and most of my friends live outside. All these people around here, they all comply. I just go out of town or go and get new friends.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, no, I'm not. I'm happy being.
Stay sane, because these people will drive you crackers. You've got to get a new community.
If you do start holding an Article 61 meeting, you get a whole like 30 people who aren't complying. It's like you make a whole new bunch of people.
So it's a different.
People travel from a long way to hear about this.
Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful when you've told them about it, you know, because it empowers them. It tells them that there is an effect, that, you know, essentially unite us together and tackle government tyranny. Do you know what I mean? It gives them hope that there is actually something that we can do to get ourselves out of this. And you'd be surprised at people who will travel to you to hear that message, and who feel want to continue that message themselves. So
does that make sense?
Because you can get it.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
You can get it.
I know it's harsh, but you've got to look after your sanity, because they will drive you crazy.
I mean, I've been sanity like is, you know, I can deal with pretty much anything, to be quite honest. But I mean, in respects to that, it's kind of like, I suppose the best way to go forward is through practical lawful dissent, is get people that are around the area and then start getting together in that respect, and then kind of ignoring these, stop trying to get to the people that don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, Gavin.
There's no point in spreading all this stuff, trying to wake people up and make people aware, because they'll become aware when things start to actually affect them on a personal level that becomes uncomfortable for them. And until that point, there's no point talking to them until then. So
but in that respect, sorry, Julie, but in that respect, like two of my friends are really quite, you know, interested in the fact. Obviously, if they did more research, they'd probably get into it. And even friends that are sleepwalkers are even interested in it. You know what I mean? Because I've explained about it, and they're like, they've signed my oath. Two or three people signed my oath for me. I'd never thought they would. Yeah. Because of what level they are. They're always like, it's literally, you mention anything conspiracy, like, it's the elephant in the room, so to speak. So you'll never get it. You know,
did you tell them what they were signing?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I didn't.
You'll get under oath.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you're planting seeds and raising interest, basically, because I mean, it is a really fascinating subject, and it's one that it's not the usual conspiracies. It's, you know, a lot of people have heard about the Magna Carta, and a lot of people, you know, whatever they think of the current situation, they don't think that we're governed in the way that we ought to be. So it's like speaking.
We're intrigued. So Julie, when you're doing a talk, how do people know about the talk, and how do you advertise it? All right. So everything you ever wanted to know about Magna Carta, but were afraid to ask, that sort of thing.
It is big. I've got about 80 friends. You've got about 2,000 or 3,000 followers or something like that. Yeah, but she's got a big following, basically, and people are in.
So how do you promote it? How do people know about it? What is it that you say that makes people come?
Look on her Facebook group and look back on her posts, and you'll see she'll you know, you do a bit of a blurb, don't you? A bit of a sort of a blurb that empowers people, if you like, and gets them interested. She's very good at promoting events and stuff like that, and getting people. But, you know, all you need to do, if you don't have the big Facebook following or the ability to do that, because I know I certainly wouldn't, advertise on the group itself, because, you know, people are on there and they're new and they don't really know much about it, even though they're on the group, and it's hard just from the group to understand what it's about. It's much easier face to face to explain things to people, I find, and to get them to understand it more quickly than in, you know, from getting them to come onto the group. So advertise in your area, because if you want to really to buckle down and study and get to know the process, and just link, it's just a case of linking up with other people, and they'll invite their friends too. It's sort of word of mouth, really. You know, it's like you can all at least support each other through the process. I met with a member around the corner early on in the process. Like, I was always one step ahead of her, so we've helped each other and supported each other through the process, you know, with signatures, and I helped with a bit of postage. I gave her a printer and stuff, my old printer and stuff like that, and so it's just a case of, you know, getting together with other people to form a sort of support group and a sort of a community of other people under oath. And you might knock into somebody who also wants to spread the word and start doing these sort of things, and who wants to promote it on their Facebook page or in groups that they're in. That, you know, social media sort of spreads things like that. So
if you tell me, and I'll post it on my page. If you're having an event, just tell me and I'll post it and put it on my story.
Okay.
But the thing is, because we've just been in a pub now, because I was trying to arrange a venue for next week, and some pubs are a bit like, oh, 6, how many people? And I went, no, I said government regulations on their own website says unlimited numbers for educational or political purposes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, yeah.
So you can have it. So just make sure you.
Or else you're all going grouse shooting. Just turn up dressed for the part with a couple of shotguns. Be fine.
But no, but you can have groups of more than 6 inside. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Inside.
We've never been bothered, have we? Really?
Never been bothered.
We've never
No.
been bothered. There was that one time after the event on a different day, but we don't know if that was to do with us or not particularly.
No. So.
But Julie, Julie, your notes you're reading from and everything else. Would you share your notes and everything with us?
Yeah, I mean, it was just sort of.
To be fair, she doesn't normally have notes. I was like, what the fuck you got notes for? She never has notes in the meeting.
Normally I just know.
I can hear rustling. It's going to put me off.
Normally I hear normally I
just buy wine, have food.
No, need them. Shouldn't need the notes.
No, normally I just go off the top of the head sort of thing, but because and that's like face to face, I just sort of turn up and I just talk. But I've never done this kind of thing before, where it's like a video-y type thing, if you know what I mean. So it's like a whole different sort of concept. It works differently, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Training people to do the kind of talks that we do. I didn't know whether I basically needed a set format to tell you, so that you could then go on and do that format. But you're welcome to the notes and everything, and you know, it'll just be sort of, it'll just jog your memory for some of the things that we've talked about. Just sort of, don't know if you can see it.
Gotcha.
A series of sort of prompts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that would help. That's really good.
That would be great, because I would need something like that to start with, a format just for my own confidence.
Yeah,
same. That's all it's about, confidence. I've not done one without Julie. I'm doing my first one on my own on Friday in Nottingham, but you still know more than most people, so you just still got to show you know, you don't have to, I think the first one we did, we just sat down with people, didn't we?
We didn't know what we were going to do. It was like, I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't have a plan. We just sort of turned up, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we didn't, you know, it's like today we didn't particularly have, we didn't know what we were going to do today, do we? We just turn up and just sort of do it and see what happens, really. It's like, I mean, if the worst comes to the worst, you will have made a great bunch of friends and met up with like-minded people and planted a seed in their mind that, you know, all you need to tell people is there's a law in effect that means the government have no authority to impose any acts or statutes, regulations, mandates, anything like that.
Exactly.
And that if only people knew about this particular law, actually the government would be removed entirely. So, and we would be able to replace the system with one that's fair for everybody. It's to end tyranny. That's the essential sort of basis of what you're trying to get across. So it's
Julie,
yeah.
Can I ask a question?
You can.
I'm feeling pretty confident about all this to be able to hold all the, you know, these Zoom meetings that I'm going to do.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm kind of not comfortable with, not comfortable with, that's ridiculous. But I know you, Stacey, you've been dealing a lot with commercial, haven't you, with businesses, with pubs and restaurants and things.
Yeah.
Because I'm a limited company, how is it different for me commercial wise?
Yeah.
And kind of helping other people on a professional level, on a commercial basis. How is it different than?
What problems are you having though?
Well, none at the minute because I'm not creating any and I'm under the radar and I'm working from home. I'm not creating any problems.
People are having problems. The one I'm hoping they're getting hassled and bullied from some police who don't understand their own jobs. So
yeah, but like my dad, he's got the restaurant down in Knightsbridge in London, and he's going to be threatened with shutdown, with like the music's too loud, with this is too. And I said, Dad, you couldn't fight. And he keeps saying to me, you can't fight the system, Dad. I'm like, bullshit, Dad. Yes, you can. But I can't convince him how. Plus, he's also stuck in Thailand because of all this bullshit. So I'm kind of like, I'm dealing with that, trying to educate my cousins on how to stop all this on a commercial basis.
Thing is, he's seen it like it's going to be causing confrontation and problems, and if you fight, it's hassle, and men don't want hassle in my experience. So you're not fighting, you just you turn it around on them. You're asking questions. You've got to answer questions with questions.
One of the things
turn it around on them.
Can you show me the evidence
yeah,
that this virus
evidence is a
exists?
threat. Speak to Colin Rivers on my Facebook. He's fucking legend. He's got a beauty salon, does tattooing and all sorts. And he told them all to fuck off, the police, licensing, environmental health. Because he found something on the government website, which I didn't even see, and turned it around on them. So it's just knowledge. Knowledge is power. And
I mean, I educate everybody that comes. I really wish I had the premises now, because if I had the premises, I would have that sign that I've seen somewhere that says "Stand here till you realise the government is brainwashing you." I would have. But I've had to move my business back home. But a lot of my clients are very elderly. They are very vulnerable. They did start coming in with the mask on. They then get a whole education and a whole host of information and health things, and now they're quite comfortable and happy to remove them.
Yeah.
And obviously the education side of it is going really, really well, but I don't want to have to be doing that with everybody who comes through the door. But I'm quite confident on everything for us on a normal basis. But I guess if I'm not getting any problems, I just shouldn't create any, should I?
But the thing is, what your dads might be getting is it's offers. These are all offers. Guidance is offers. You can choose to fucking tell them to shove their offers up their arsehole. But say, look, I'm happy to accept your kind offer to fucking have the fucking profit of my business overnight, but please show me this, this and that. And it's turn it around them, they won't be able to. Show me evidence of a threat. Show me evidence of how many people are in the ICU locally. Show me a victim. You just got to play the system. They're just assuming. Everyone's ignorant. But no one's asking questions. People have got to ask some questions. Don't just blindly shut your business. Or
he's going along with everything. Every time I read your posts about why are you letting people have your income, not even half, it's like a quarter. And I just think,
have you not sent him the data? Because there's a document on the government website, and it's showing how many deaths that they predict through deprivation, they called it, deprivation and lockdowns over the next 50 years. They've done 5 years and then done 50 years. It's like millions of people. So you want me to have my business, like shut my business, like have a number of customers, and I can see how many deaths you're predicting through lockdowns, low GDP. Every time it crunches, there's more deaths, it says on there. So it's all the evidence is there. Do you want me to go along with this? I'd be turning it around on the police and licensing with the information. It's all on there. The good thing is the government have never been secretive about anything they've done. So all the evidence is out there. People just don't look in the small print.
It's not even that they don't look. I think they're so overwhelmed.
They don't understand it.
I think they're overwhelmed by all the massive amount of information that's coming at you all the time from all different sides, if you know what I mean. It's like there's post after post after post on Facebook, mostly full of like fear, spreading fear basically and misinformation. It's like you're just bombarded with it, and it's
just rely on the data. Don't you never use emotion with these people. Don't use emotion. Just do facts, data, and turn it around on them. Because honestly, anything else, if you start going off feeling and I feel this and I think that, and then getting a bit emotional, you've just lost the problem. Just give them hard, cold facts, data, turn it around. I don't want to be a statistic. that says millions of people are going to die through lockdowns and deprivation and you know, the economic depression that's coming. So you tell me how this is going to keep my business and family afloat. You tell me that. So I don't think these guidelines are going to help. You've just got to turn it around on them.
Yeah.
This is what Cole Rivers, speak to Cole Rivers, he's done really well with it. I've been to a few bars in Manchester as well, where the owners are really, they're like either Iranian or one's like old school Irish guy, and they know the system and they've not been bothered. I said to them, I said, "Is licensing coming?" No, no one's been in to visit, because they know who to fuck with and they know who not to fuck with. That's it. They're going into the weak people. They're going into people who don't know the rights and not educate themselves. So, and
I've just had a therapist message me now, and she says, "Well, it looks like we'll be stopping working again soon. Boris is about to announce another full lockdown."
They're always about to announce one, though.
Whatever. Not comply.
Yeah, I think there will be. I've said I work from home. I do reflexology, and it's my rule. So anybody that's come back to me, I've said it's the old normal, and everyone that's come in, they've literally gone through so what do you think about this? And you know, I've sort of said to them, if we go into a lockdown, just knock 3 times on the door and I'll let you in.
I like that.
The resistance. I said, come round the back gate. I said, and do all this. It just turn it into a bit of fun.
I have friends around and all sorts. I was like, yeah.
We have to...
It's your private property, your house, as well, so no one's allowed to come in.
That's right.
Nobody's allowed to come in.
I find myself saying a number of things, because when they come in, they instinctively want to say, "Do you want me to wear a mask?" I go, "No, I want you to breathe."
That's exactly what I say to my patients.
When they're sitting comfortably and we get into the mask thing, and you know, the conversation sort of flows, and I say, now, if you're going to wear a mask, I said, then please check your body acidity, because your blood's going to become more acidic, and acidic blood will mean that your amino acids will not absorb your minerals, and you'll get inflammation, and inflammation will lead to disease. And you can see them sort of going, oh my God, you know, just give them a few steps. And I say, so please have some lemon in some water with some bicarb soda, and get some pea strips off Amazon and test your pea. And you do the first 2 peas in the morning, and it needs to be between 7.8 upwards of it in order for your body to be alkaline enough. So just keep testing yourself. And I'm kind of putting a different fear in them. You know, I've moved them away from the, you know, or I need to wear a mask. Oh my God, you know, like I need to do all these things to sort of keep well. And that kind of psychology, I can see them then go, yeah, they then start asking more questions. And yeah, I found that quite useful, you know, to address the mask thing.
Yeah.
So
each their own. It's just like, it's just know what it's doing to society and children. So I just can't even look at them anymore. I can't even take them seriously as human beings. It sounds really awful. Nobody seems to be thinking long term. Seems to be very short term mentality going on. I don't know. But yeah, does everyone feel a bit more empowered and would feel confident about putting on a meeting in their own area?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anyone wanting a bit more help with anything, or do you want Julie to go over the Magna Carta a bit more? Or we've probably
it would be just nice if we could have a sort of checklist of the topics that you would present in some sort of structured order, which I think Julie's notes might give us.
Yeah, I think Julie's notes will.
And always, if we say to people, well, look, I'm still learning this, I'm only one step ahead of you, so if there's a question you ask me I don't know, I'll find out and get back to you. Because
exactly, that's a good response, because I'm a trainer by trade. I train IT, and like Stacey said, where we are here, we know more than the other people at the moment.
Absolutely.
So, but just got to be honest with them. If you don't know the answer, just say, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to kill you for it.
Yeah.
You know,
sorry?
You're not going to kill you. It's just, you give them more information than they ever had before. So it's like a conversation in a pub.
Sometimes it's just nice to be
yeah.
together. I mean, when I was helping my local member through the process, I was only one step ahead. It felt like the blind leading the blind. I've never felt confident with the notice until now. I feel okay now, but I hate paperwork and I hate the organisation, and I don't know, I just can't get my head around it. Do you know what I mean? And photocopying stuff and saving postal receipts and things, and you know, it's like, it's just not one of them things that came easy. So it really did feel like the blind leading the blind, but like you say, I did know a bit more than what they knew. And when, you know, it doesn't matter if you make a few mistakes to begin with. It's like, you know, even now I'm still learning, and there's still stuff I don't know and that I have to check and that I have to ask about, or I've been saying one thing and actually I should have been saying another. And it's, you know, it's not the end of the world, because most of what you're saying is probably going to be quite informative, and there's places you can find out. It prompts you to go and learn more. It that helps you know where the gaps in your knowledge are as much as anything. It prompts you to research more. So
So do you think we should all start by just going through all the modules and all the training that's already on the site?
Yeah,
and we need to do all of that. I've never done it.
Do all of that to get a good grounding, so that we've got a, you know, reasonably good idea of what we're talking about.
Barbara, if it's going to bog you down and it's going to take you weeks and you're going to procrastinate and you're not going to...
Oh no, I wouldn't do that. It just...
If you're going to click through it, do it.
Well, we always say...
It'll put people off sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we always say start with the layman's guide. There's been a suggested reading order to go through the topics section, which they didn't even have a topics section hardly when I first joined. But I just went for pick a document and read it, really, and watched videos as well, like David Robinson's videos, and now you've got Jackie's videos, and there were other videos about strawman and corpus juris, the court system, you know, under admiral law, that were helpful. But take your time, pace yourself. Don't expect to learn all at once. Don't expect to understand it all. I read stuff now and I still don't understand it all. But each time you read something, you're going to learn a bit more. You're adding to your knowledge, and eventually, you know, it's going to build up, and it's going to become, you know, it's going to be something that's more that you can pass on to other people. But you know, I studied solidly for about 7 weeks, and I just was
looking at the date, and I think 3 months, exactly 3 months. It's been,
So I sort of, at the beginning, I was determined that I was going to know it. So I read a bit, not every night, but you know, after a certain amount of time when all my family had stopped bothering me and everything, I'd just sit down and like read for half an hour, and I might not understand what I was reading, and I might have to keep going back over it. But eventually, with time, as I read more, it did start to sink in, and it did start to register. I did start to understand it more, and I just sort of took a sort of structured approach to it, really. If it felt overwhelming, I'd leave it for a day or two so that it had time to sort of sink in, and then I could come back to it afresh, rather than sort of panicking and worrying that I wasn't understanding and it all sort of feeling bogged down with it. I'd leave it for a few days and then come back to it and, you know, watch a video or something, or pick up reading where I left off. Just, you know, take your time to go through it. It's like you've got a lifetime's worth of education to make up for. You're not going to learn it all at once. You're not going to understand it all at once. But I found reading through the posts on the group and the answers. And
that was probably what helped me.
What something like, and screened all the admin answers to stuff and read back through them and stuff. So it's just feeding your mind with information and not worrying that you don't understand it all at first, because it's huge. It's like history, it's politics, it's law, it's sort of processes and procedures that you've never come across before in your life. You're not going to learn it fast. Do you know what I mean? I felt comfortable enough with the very basics after 7 weeks to start answering some questions on the group. You know, and just sort of sharing what I'd learned in sort of simple tips sort of thing, or just pointing people to the right area of the topics section, that you know, just telling them to go and read the layman's guide if they were new, just doing what I could to help, really, and because I wanted other people to know the information. So that sort of got noticed after a sort of couple of weeks later, and I was asked to sort of help with admin and stuff like that. So unfortunately my reading went on the back. I wanted to read through everything on that group. I really did. I wanted to read it all and, you know, learn it all, but the sort of admining took over at that point. But you learn from that as well, because you get challenged with questions that you don't know the answer to, and because you're looking through the information all the time and trying to find it, you sort of learn in that sense as well. So teaching other people and helping other people helps consolidate your knowledge as well. So the more you work on something, the more you're going to learn, really. So
is David Robinson still around?
He's not very well.
He's not really up to sort of, he's there in the background a bit, but he's not really well.
He's had collapsed lungs and
all sorts going on. I mean, I don't think he was ever, you know what I mean? I think he always had some disability and things, but he's not really well enough to sort of have much of an involvement other than sort of a bit of an advisory role in the background. So.
Yeah. And on the site, there's only about 6 barons, I think, 6 or 8 barons on the list. Is that all the barons, or is that only the ones who are
ones that we know or we did know that were still accepting male? Because obviously it was 20 years ago. A lot of them have got old or unwell, and
right.
they're not really active anymore, if you know what I mean. So those are the accepting barons that sending things to, if we're going to send it at all. So
they don't really do much, though, do they? They don't really.
Oh no, I mean, that, like I say, they're a constitutional safeguard. They should have led this, but how could they have done? What would they have done? They wouldn't have got put in mainstream media, except that tiddly little newspaper report on the 4th page or something like that. And mainstream media only reports government propaganda. It was never going to sort of report a rebellion led by the barons, and who knew what the barons were anyway, or the House of Lords, or what they were supposed to do. I didn't know. I just thought it was all government. If people had started saying, oh yeah, the barons are leading a rebellion, and I wouldn't know what they were talking about, and neither would half the rest of most of the rest of the country either. Nobody would have had a clue. So it's been left up to our education system, so we don't know.
Well, I suppose we should be grateful that they did invoke it when they did, because the Treaty of Nice was probably the breaking point for them, wasn't it?
I think it was the last straw that broke the camel's back, if you know what I mean. So so it's up to us.
Quick question: if we're obviously going down this road and working out the lawful notification, etc., does this affect our rights to access the NHS for any treatment, medical treatments, or anything like that?
No, it's our entitlements. We pay for that service. It's like we have a duty not to cause ourselves loss or harm during this process.
Is anyone getting NHS treatment at the moment? Just out of interest.
I didn't think you could. I thought it was all banned.
I think you should avoid it like the Pope, shouldn't you?
You get contact with your doctor online and over the phone and stuff like that, and you do get in to see them if you need to. You know what I mean? And a lot of it is you can still go into A&E. It's a lot of it is still there. It's just stuff like operations, mental health support. A lot of it's just up in the air. A lot of it's on the back burner. So people are still scheduled for operations. I think they're just sort of it's just not like it used to be. Going on your own, you have to get coronavirus tests, and you still can get treatment. I know people that are getting some treatment. It's just very limited and not as not always.
Okay, thank you.
Always. So, but you can still access all your benefits. It's like literally nothing changes. You are only saying that you're going to uphold the law, and as much as we say don't comply with the system as much as possible, you can't remove yourself from it entirely. It's like you need your benefits, you need your healthcare, you need your services. It's they're not unlawful services.
It's the money that was from your trust anyway.
I think some of it is, and it's money that you've paid in taxes and things like that. And
can we get any of that back? Can we get any of the?
I mean, I think if we
maybe in the form of a castle when you seize it. Maybe.
Well, to be honest, if we take out the City of London, Corpus Juris, that Roman rule, and we'll have to remove the birth certificates and surnames and all of that. We'll have to. I think we should get our money back. Yeah, that money is supposed to be, there for us. It's supposed to be shared among us. It's all the wealth shouldn't belong to just a set few people. It's supposed to be shared amongst us. I mean, money's only a sort of. It's only like an IOU, really, isn't it?
What about all the money that we paid under duress before we knew what our rights were? So what about all the previous council tax and the water bill and the taxes and the pensions and things?
I'm happy to write mine off because I don't want anything to do with these people.
I don't know if you've heard about Nisara and Jisara.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you have then allegedly you will get back what you've paid.
That's bullshit.
Yeah,
that's
that's just crap.
Whether it is or not, but
I think that isn't that just like
distraction.
the global one world?
Distraction.
Isn't it just a sort of a bit of a cover up? It makes it something sound good, but I've not looked into it too much. But it's just a cover up. Global one.
Well, apparently with Jasara, there's over 25 million tons of gold sitting in the Philippines that we're all going to be able to access, and that they started putting money back into the government.
They're saying that all debt will be cancelled. So
yeah.
That would be nice.
Well, aren't they? Yeah, but they're talking about a global reset of the economy so that they can then shift it onto the what's it called? Bitcoin and stuff like that, like a sort of digital currency, a world digital cryptocurrency. But you know, that's why we're going cashless. That's why there's all this drive to go cashless. So you're tied into digital currency. It's all digital, and it's going to be a one world currency, and they're effectively just going to be able to cut you off if you don't comply.
It's just another distraction. Yeah. So people don't empower themselves and think, sit back, it's all for the good, all for the greater good. It's
anything
not.
that says don't take action and wait for us to make everything all better for you. Yeah. It is.
But also, somebody, I don't know where I heard this, but somebody said if you get your house paid off with Nasara Jasara or whatever, and then they come along later and go, yes, you own your own home, but you signed this when it was paid off. Therefore, we want you to move to this house. So under Agenda 21, we don't want you to live here anymore. We want you to actually live over here. So I think it could be a bit of a Trojan horse.
But we don't own our homes anyway. I've heard that basically, what you know, the fact that they're sort of the deeds are registered and stuff. You don't own your home; it's actually registered to the state. Anyway, like your car is, you don't own your car. You by registering it, giving ownership over to somebody else. So it's sort of just an illusion. Ownership is just an illusion anyway. But single dwellings and homes that you think you own are going to be a thing of the past. We're all going to be put into smart cities, into stack and pack housing. That's, you can see it in Manchester. It's like when you come into Manchester, you can
these
see
bloody plant pots
Agenda 21 rolling out. All the roads are blocked off. They're building cycle tracks everywhere because they're going to, cars and fossil fuels and all that. That's going to be
they're directing people onto main surveillance roads as well.
I mean, there was always a lot of building in Manchester, but these high-rise apartments are going up like nobody's business. They're like really, it's like you can see it happening. We're all about to die from this terrible virus, but hey, on the building and the remodeling of like towns and cities and society.
But it's just, as long as you feel a bit more confident and empowered, that's all we wanted to do today. And just so you go and spread the word and decide for yourself what solution's best for you. If you need any more help, we're here.
Yeah, Stacey, could any of us come to one of your meetings and just see what you talk about and stuff or anything like that?
Everyone
when you do your.
You're stuck in Bedfordshire.
You won't leave Burton upon Trent. You won't leave.
What are you trying to say?
Passport.
Will you get on a train without wearing a mask? That's what I want to know. If you will,
I'd go. What's what? Well, I wouldn't get on a train though. I'd drive. I wouldn't get on a train. I'd drive.
Isn't it a bit of a trek for you?
What's a trek, really? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
at the end of the day, if it's a way to get out of shit, everyone's saying got the time and that, but it's like, well, if you ain't got the time to look after the future generation, then you may as well just fucking put a bag on your head and be done with it.
Exactly. They've got one next Wednesday, next Thursday in Manchester City Centre.
Next Thursday, okay. But yeah, I mean, again, it'd just be nice to come to maybe a meeting, see what the crack is, see what the score is. I mean, I'm quite happy to get people going in this area. And then just kind of like maybe, because I can do websites and stuff, so I can even set up a little website for the locality and just say, look, get on here, join the forum, get people involved in it, put stuff out on Facebook, and then try and get people to come to meetings. But do you advertise them just through Facebook, or would you do them could you do them externally?
Just through Facebook.
Just through Facebook.
You can do them on the.
So you're just getting like.
You can.
I suppose another good. Yeah.
I just put a post out and people People just come that way. Yeah.
People share it.
Yeah, I've seen your post, but I can't comment. Sorry.
Shared everywhere, so it's like, you know, she told me on my first meeting, she said, oh, what, because I met her and thought, oh, I can see she's trying to raise awareness and empower people and stuff like that, so I'll go, and she contacted me on Messenger about PLD stuff, about the group, so I thought, oh, I'll go.
Yeah.
So she's local, so I'll meet up with you and tell you all about it if you want. So we met up and I told her all about it, and one of them was like, what you've just told me, will you tell other people that as well? Like if I get a small local group, maybe about 10 people or something together. I was like, all right, yeah. And then she sent me this post that she was going to put out, and I altered it and sent it back. And I thought she'll come back to me with the final version in a minute. And she comes back and goes, right, we've got 30 people. I was like, oh right. Right. That's not 10, is it? And then like
it all come from like all over the country.
Bristol and I've not really spoken.
Shut herself. She actually shut herself. She nearly pretty cancelled. I was like, you're not fucking cancelling.
She was like, oh yeah, we've got people coming from like Birmingham and London, and I was like, that's not very good. It was like, so yeah. So anyway, so she was like later that day, she's like, oh, and did you see the post went viral and somebody wanted to on this thing, and I was like, no.
Julie's worst nightmare.
And I hadn't looked on her, so I looked on her page, and it was like, you know, 300 comments, 250 shares, and all these people wanting to come from far and wide and do interviews, and it was just like,
yeah.
You're like, Scooby-Doo.
I've had to teach her over the last couple of months. It's a good thing, mate. It needs to be shared.
I'm way out of my comfort zone on this sort of stuff, but it's too important to message. So I just have to sort of, you know, I like to keep a low profile. I'm putting myself more than usual, just adminning that group. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
Way out of my this sort of thing. I don't do this sort of thing ever. I don't even have anything that can run Zoom. Do you know what I mean? And I wouldn't do it if I could. I don't think so. It's like, yeah. Right.
Ladies, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Hello, beautiful. Hi. I'm actually at work at the minute, but I've got a question. I listened to what you were saying about, you know, cashless society and stuff like that, how they'll be able to switch off anyone who doesn't comply. Personally, I see us, we're not going to comply, right? With whatever we're doing, we don't want to be part of the system. Yeah. So with that analogy, would you not think that this would be enough for them to switch us off? Once we are part of,
they're not at the point where they can do that yet, and we're going to try and change things before it gets to that point. It's like we can all see everything, but we just need enough of us to get together in order to put pressure on them, and to sort of seize the buildings and everything. As many as really we need.
How many have you got right now? What do you reckon?
I don't know, because it's been going on for such a long time, this movement. I mean, it's at least 10 years. David Robinson was doing it, and I don't know what was going on before then, because obviously Article 61 was invoked 10 years prior to that as well.
Yeah.
So it goes back such a long time, and nobody ever tried to you know, get numbers. We didn't know we'd need numbers. I don't think anybody ever envisaged that it would sort of grow so big. And I mean, you just didn't know back then that social media was going to be so powerful for a start.
Yeah. So if you were to count it, you could be very positively surprised.
Sorry. Yeah. Well,
I said that if you were to count the amount of people, you could end up being really positively surprised.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I think basically more people will get. The numbers are rising daily on that group.
Yeah.
A few months ago, when I first joined that group, because it was the Canada group, you know, there was about 4,000 people, and now there's 20,000. So, and it's spreading. And
Jackie told me last night. Jackie Phoenix told me 10 months ago, whenever she was first took over it. It's about 160 people in it.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
She
wow.
To Canada, you see, she saw the potential.
And then lockdown,
and then it's gone. Push the message in Canada and get loads of people under oath and using the process in Canada. And we've got Australia and New Zealand groups as well. It's not just the main group. There's those groups.
Yeah.
Well. A lot of people.
And
members.
Do you also, I understand that you ladies are from England, I live in London. Tell me this, I was reading about, it's hard for me to explain, but I was also reading about the registering of the birth certificates? Would you even recommend stuff like that? Because it's, you know, the straw man thing. What do you reckon?
You can't really deregister.
You just have to take the oath, innit? The oath,
it's always going to be in effect, but the oath that break or essentially it removes your implied consent to the system that uses it fraudulently against you. So
okay, yeah.
We're effectively just not going to comply with them. We're going to completely shun them, almost act like this, and only deal with writing with our lawful notices. We reject the legal system, all legalese. So we're only going to comply under duress when we have to access things like, you know, use our passports and our driving license and things. With that, birth certificates. So, but you can't make it go away. There's nothing that you can do. I don't think that make your birth certificate not be in existence. I know there's other people who offer alternative paperwork and stuff, but as far as I'm aware, it's not particularly accepted. I don't think it's accepted anywhere. Whether it can be used or not, whereas the oath, you know, it's your intent to uphold the law. It breaks the fraudulent birth certificate surname, but it gives you lawful excuse to break acts and statutes as well. So it's basically you're just not going to comply with that system at all. So you're just not going to grant it any authority or by interacting with it unless you can't avoid it. So
that makes sense.
I thought we covered this before the protest. Who you're protesting to and why? And you're giving them authority when they haven't got any, so you're begging. Begging for what?
What does it do as well? Because it's like you can go out there and prance around in the street as much as you like, but they're just going to use it either as an excuse to incite violence or to claim civil unrest.
It's staged. Most of it's staged.
Staged. Basically,
like the Piers Corbyn thing, staged.
Yeah, it's to enforce sort of more draconian measures. Basically, it's to. As an excuse, they use it as an excuse to enforce worse and worse measures on people. So, you know,
the people who organise it are connected to politicians.
Yeah, it is.
And they want to create parties. So the people that organise
it achieves nothing. I mean, you can go and walk around the streets as much as you want, with as many people as you want, but what happens? What changes? Nothing changes. It might have changed things in the past when people organised it properly and sort of disrupted the traffic system and changed themselves to railings of buildings and things like that. But I think now at the moment it's not going to make the slightest bit of difference.
These little group meetups in your own areas, building a community of like-minded people, are going to make more difference than attending a staged event with bloody police wearing masks and they don't wear them all week, but they do on a Saturday. It's just ridiculous.
The organisers building seizures are gonna, and the sort of peaceful protests with our notices and refusal to comply, and then the organised building seizures, which will also be peaceful, but they'll have a big impact if we do it properly on a large scale all at once. That can have a huge impact. So it's organising something that's actually going to work, but obviously it takes a lot of planning to put everything in place to make sure that you do it properly and that it does have the desired effect. In the end, it's got to be done. We've got to take our time and do it properly, basically, because people and they want things to happen now, and they're expecting instant answers and instant action, and it's like, no, you either do it properly or you don't do it at all.
Because it could take years, but we've just got to slowly turn the mentality. Because it's been a dependent nanny state. We need to change it slowly and try and give people the sovereignty back. Not that it's us as to give, but you know what I mean. But there's other people saying, like, let's bring in a new political party, but you're just cutting off the head of a snake and replacing it with another one. You can't claim to be sovereign and freedom, and then let's have another political party. It's just still being governed by somebody that we didn't want in the first place.
It's still
the system is still
shit.
System
of governance, just a different load of people in charge. They're all the same party at the end of the day. We're led to believe that they're different ones, but they're the same party. They're just made to look.
Absolutely.
It sounds really obvious, but it's going to come within everybody. That's all it is.
Like with political party, my old man used to always say, the grass is never greener on the other side. And it's like the same. You go from one party to another, and you think, they're going to do us proud, like we all thought Boris Johnson was going to do us proud, but he's another traitor.
But they're all controlled opposition, aren't they? It's all a big pantomime. Doesn't matter who gets in. Has anyone got any questions? Because we're going to shoot now. You've got to go, and I'm knackered. But anyone got any questions?
just the next steps for what you'd like us to do. Organise events. Organise.
I think it's.
I'd say my posts. Look at the journeys.
Get on with it.
Just look at the stuff I've been sharing, because I've learned myself. Just do the similar things that interest you, and then just bloody pick a venue, tell the owner you're coming, and turn up. Invite people. Nothing
I'd say from a newcomer into it all as well. I'd say the straw man video you shared was brilliant. That was good insight. The video about the Constitution, I can't remember who the bloke was, but Tom
Barnett and Mark. That's really good.
Mark, yeah, it is solutions empowerment. But I joined the website and it was a little bit like, I don't know what to do here. I was a little bit lost with it all because it wasn't clear. So that kind of left me a little bit bewildered. But there was a video that someone posted. That's posted in the group as well. I don't know who it was, but he was talking at some sort of political party, but they're talking about the Constitution. And he explained it quite well, how the Constitution works, etc. So that was good.
One that's just been like a bloke sort of like at a conference type thing, and he stood up.
Yeah.
I can't think what he's called either. So I saw it just because I see it all the time. I mean, a lot of people found it really useful. I tried to watch it, but I'm not very good at. I'm not a video watching sort of person really, and I think because I probably know a fair bit of it already, I don't feel like I'm going to gain from it.
Yeah.
I find them a bit boring to listen to, so I'm really not. I like to read things really, and
depending on what. Yeah. And then there was David Robertson did an interview, or not an interview, but he was kind of like doing a talk, so to speak, inside. It looked like a meeting room, but that helped as well because he kind of explained certain things about it. Asking people, what's your authority, that sort of thing. So it explains that a little bit more. But from my point of view, how I can see it is we kind of gather them out, as many people as we can, and then when we've got, say, for example, the 3 million people you're saying, Stacey. At that point, then you can then all obviously, because you, like Julie's always said, you never want to kind of like council tax. They don't want to maybe let go of. So if you're going to challenge council tax as a single individual, they're probably going to lock you up if you try and do it under Article 61. Like there was a story about a bloke on there. I don't know if you've seen that. There was a boxer.
Oh yeah.
He tries to use a process and.
Well, he didn't use it properly. You see, he granted them authority because basically he shouldn't. He went with the police because his children were watching. He shouldn't.
Yeah.
So that's why we've got the actual story on the site so that people can read through what really happened. Because basically, you shouldn't comply with them. You should only literally.
Yes. Yeah.
If you dragged in kicking and screaming, like unlawfully kidnapped.
Yeah.
And dragged in, so it's unusual for him to turn up like that as well, because loads of people use this process to avoid council tax. Loads of people.
Yeah, I don't know what. Well,
one of the
we do know why they
is
turned
like
up because it's
6 years in.
It went straight in the sun, didn't it? So it was just to.
They're gonna.
It was almost like
every now and again.
It's another stunt like the mass things. Would you say it's another stunt like the mass things? So you'll see the things about at the moment. You'll see one police officer being quite brutal with someone not wearing a mask. Could it be just a stunt again if it was in the sun?
No, it is.
It's a stunt to put people off trying to use the process.
Plenty of exemptions on the government website. I don't know why anyone is. I don't understand why that's happening.
Yeah. Again, but
people every now and then they pick on somebody and make a scapegoat of them.
So if you get people into compliance, because you notice all these videos, they get millions of views, and you think, hold on a minute, this is a little bit kind of, they've got a copper. It's been a little bit too harsh, and isn't it just a scare tactic to again scare people into control?
Yeah, and it works.
And then they're thinking,
why wouldn't they?
Well, it works. Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, it's not.
These people
it's not like mindscape.
They're harvesting fairness. Yeah. That's the perfect way.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is like, don't do yourself any harm. So obviously comply where you need to under the process, and then when we've got enough people together, then obviously a mass standing is different from the odd one or two people in there.
Yeah.
So that's what you're saying at that point. Then we can go, right, okay, nobody pay council tax, and then they go shit, and then that's when you start making an effect.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I spoke to my friend in Australia this morning. Apparently, there's loads of people in Victoria. They've all stopped paying mortgages and council tax.
Yeah,
they just stopped paying.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, get them where it hurts. All they care about is money, isn't it? And it's like, what
Yeah.
It's like they're all
Well,
locked in court or prison. They're supposed to be locked in.
Well, if it's a monetary system, it's designed just to extort money from us, let's say.
Yeah.
You need enough. It's created so well that you can't get out of it. Pretty much anything they've got you hook, line, and sinker. Unless you know what you're on, unless you're clued up, to the hills and you know what you're on about. The system's created so well to keep you in that position. So obviously, until we've got people en masse to be able to refuse it, we're kind of just, you learn the process. Send the basic notice, do your oath, send your first 5 notices out, get other people on board. Everyone's on the same standing, let's say, with the courts and the police. And then when you've got the massive people, and then you get enough, then obviously you can do the building seizures, etc. Obviously with the amount of people. But how do you do it if, like, say for example, they've shut all the buildings down?
Yeah,
they're all working from home. What do you do then? Go to occupy the home?
Somebody had their eye on one for building seizure, I don't know what it was, some sort of council building, and they put up a load of public notice posters on it. The next day it was sold to a private buyer. So I think you have to be a bit quiet about where you're going to seize.
Yeah.
They can't close them all down. I mean, it's like people are working from them and services are run from them and stuff like that. They sort of, they can't.
But they have windows, don't they? They have, they're not completely.
If a building seizure is not going to work, then you need to find some other way of disrupting things and sort of, we have to distress and distrain the monarch in any way we see fit. So, there'll be other ways that we can sort of disrupt services.
That says it in law. That says it in law.
There's plenty of buildings that always will.
Got to uphold the law.
Open, do you know what I mean? All the transport networks and everything, train stations, if you sort of pile enough people into a train station to stop it,
Yeah, but they not just classed as Extinction Rebellion, though?
Well, I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. It's like it's still a building.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's like we've got a different purpose. That Extinction Rebellion's just sort of set up to feed into Agenda 21 because it's all done on the back of sustainability and to make it.
Yeah.
People are pushing for the changes and driving the changes when they're not. They're just being allowed to come in and allowed to come into the mainstream arena, and they're being incited to do it. Do you know what I mean? I'm getting little messages on how will I
mean, I know that's all rigged.
To make it better and stuff like that. At the moment, it's all very much mainstream and sort of being promoted, so that they can make it look like it on the back, sustainability and care for the environment.
Yeah, it's just part of the agenda to push it that way. But anyway, I won't keep any longer. Thanks very much, Stacey, and everybody else, and Julie for.
Thank you so much. It's been brilliant.
Has it been
awesome? Thank you very much for your advice.
helpful in you the sort of understanding and stuff, or do you feel more confident with your knowledge, or that you could sort of learn things forward?
Yeah, I mean, I've been researching as I go, so I've been asking questions. No matter how stupid they are, normally ask a question, you already know the answer, and then just researching everything, so watching videos, going on, like you said, going onto the group and looking at the questions that are being asked, because you see the questions getting asked again and again. I feel sorry for the admin sometimes. I'm thinking, do you not just read the other posts and see that it's already answered? It's like it's like, come on, use your brain. Not being funny or anything, but what you think, Jesus. And I think just reading all the posts and getting used to things before. It took me up to probably 2 weeks ago to actually get my oath done and get the printer sorted and get things going to a point where I feel slightly confident with things. Yeah. So it's more like, doing your research, understanding things, and that helps first, and then it's just a constant research, isn't it, really? And then once you get people together, because I don't want to be going, oh yeah, this, that, and that, and then I don't understand it myself, because I can make myself look stupid or maybe turn people away. So I wanted to be confident in the process before I even attempted anything.
As soon as I started learning it, I basically, because people were like, oh, what's this oath thing, what you do, this, that, and the other, so I started explaining it to other people, just that.
Yeah.
I started trying to explain what I knew, just on random. I mean, I even got some homeless guy that I was sort of friends with. It was just like bombarded with Magna Carta stuff and everything, and
Yeah. Well, say if you learn,
do it on a policeman. Go and find a policeman. And do it on them. Honestly, it's brilliant. Ask
some people, it's like you'll learn, you know, you'll consolidate your knowledge through trying to explain it, and you'll know where the gaps in your knowledge are as well. So.
Yeah. Well, it's the same as anything. Once you learn something, once you try and teach other people, you learn yourself. Yeah. I've just done a degree in electronic engineering, so I'm kind of used to researching and stuff, and kind of, I think if everyone gets to the point of understanding it, because I think that's half the problem. It's understanding it first and being sure of what you're doing, but then reassuring people, you know, you're not necessarily going to go, right, I'm not going to pay any tax, not going to pay any council tax, I'm not going to pay any fines, blah, 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 from now on, that's it. Because of that whole thing you're saying is not cause yourself any harm. So it's like learning, like Stacey says, learning how to go through it like a ghost.
You've got to. It's only as good as the person using it, isn't it? Like, there's people that are saying, no, it doesn't, but they've not got the confidence and they've not got
people
the
come in
knowledge
when they've got a problem and they want us to solve it. So it's
but it's like they're doing it because they want to get out of council tax rather than seeing the big picture. It's not about getting out of council tax. It's the whole fucking system. Sorry, Aaron.
Quite bad problems. Do you know what I mean? They're really, you know, complicated. I wouldn't feel confident using the process in the things that they're using it in, and they're trying to use it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you're going to do it. You have to do what we tell you exactly. And they can't understand it. They don't understand about not granting authority and not interacting in any way other than in writing.
But what I find is they've not learned the legalese, so they'll do this process. You've got to know the legalese as well, because if you get a letter back, you've got to know, oh, I've got that tool, you've got to pull that one out of the bag. You've got to know it all.
You've got to know your enemy. You've got to know your enemy in order to defeat the enemy. Otherwise, no point.
You've got to understand to recognise it in order to reject it, if you know what I mean. Because to new people, it sounds legitimate, all that legalese and this, that, and the other. It sounds as though they've got a legitimate argument, and it's like when you understand it properly, you realise that they haven't.
It's laughable. It's laughable. Easily they've fooled everybody. It's fucking laughable. But it's like looking on the train and stuff when people come up, it's mandatory. Do you know what mandatory means? Get the Black's Law Dictionary out and I'll show you. I love it.
So what does mandatory mean in the Black's Law then? Because I've got Black's Law, Stace, but I don't know what mandatory. It does. I can't see where it gives you. Is it kind of gives you?
Which edition?
Again, sorry.
Which edition have you got?
I think it's 4. I think 4th edition. I think.
Did I not post that? I think I shared it.
I got it previously because I got it through. I think I actually watched some of Tom Barnett's stuff when he was doing. I think it was stuff. No, it's actually it was you posting stuff when Tom Barnett did videos with the spirit. The other guy.
Suver-in-law. It is Suver-in-law. That other fella, I think.
Yeah. They got the other guy that was in it. He's got that spirit. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So I found that through then, and then you posted it as well. But then I was looking through, so I type in mandatory to find what it means and stuff, and I just found it a little bit. It's not easy to read.
It's just another offer. It's just an order. It means, but it's just an offer. Again, it's not law.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. So if we're governed by,
that's an offer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's trying to portray that to people who believe like otherwise. It's kind of like, but again, like you say, we're not finding those people, are we? We're looking for people that want to know and are looking to learn. I think that's the problem. Is you're trying to wake people up who are not ready, and you just need to get the people who are interested in.
And like just help them to focus on the remedy provided. Basically, we always stay focused on the remedy. That's why you won't see any of the sort of day-to-day problems, you know.
Yeah. So sorry, Julie. Can we invite is it okay for me to go through all my friends and invite them all to the group?
Well, they'll be interested. Obviously, we've got to pick through if they don't come actually answer the questions and join the group. When you've invited, we've got to deal with that. So maybe sort of ask the ones that
put a post out first.
Know that are going to be interested. Yeah, I mean, just try and explain it a bit, or just tell them that you're going to invite them and to like answer the questions or decline it. Also, I mean, we give them about 24 hours and then we get rid of them anyway. But you know, it helps if you explain it a bit first, or tell them why you're inviting them, or at least
put a post about it. So
at least think
you're adding value. Whenever you post about anything, or this, you've got to add value whenever you create an event, a meetup. Make sure you're adding value. People will come, engage. That's all you'd have to do. Add value and educate people. That's it. Simple.
But before we start, can I ask Jenny? Can I just ask Jenny? You've already organised an event. How have you structured that? How are you posting it out? Where's it going?
Well, one thing that I don't have is an awful lot of physical time in my week with many things that I'm doing. So meetups for me physically just aren't possible. So I'm just doing Zoom. I'm in a lot of different groups, as we all are, on Messenger, WhatsApp, Telegram, all these other platforms. And I've just told people what I'm doing. I'll send you the link on Thursday. I'm holding it Friday at 7:30. Let me know if you want it. That's it. And it's just been like boom, 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 boom. That's all I've done. That's all I've done.
Anybody offering any sort of glimmer at hope at the moment, they pounce on you.
Yeah.
Anybody offering a solution, because people are just bombarded with the problems constantly, but nobody knows which way to turn. So if you're offering some sort of unity and contact and a potential solution and hope, they're there. I mean, your posts go crazy, don't they? And it's people are asking all the time on the group and trying to arrange their own just little meetups to support each other through the process, but they're always asking, can people do meetings? Can people hold meetings to help them with the process? Because I mean, you don't have to host it in any particular way. It can just be helping people do the open notices. We always take oaths, don't we? And we get everyone under oath because you can sign each other's oaths and tell them what to do about sending it off and everything. It's like I always print off a stack of oaths and take them, and I've printed off some example oaths, about sort of 6 of them or something, that people can share so that they can obviously ensure that they're sort of filling it out correctly. So it's sort of handy to do something like that. We sort of do it we sort of do a bit of a talk, don't we? And then we sort of chill out for a bit. People might ask questions or talk to each other or whatever, and then we sort of get back onto a bit of a talk and do oaths at the end, or we do oaths and then a bit more of a talk. It's just. And
then everyone gets pissed at the end, or you go home, or you just.
I'm boring.
Everyone gets shit faced, so you just do it as whatever works for you. Whatever you think will get the message out in the best possible way in your area. With your friends.
A life outside of that group, do I? I'm just on that group. It's like you get pissed.
Just do what you have to. I stay behind with whoever's come the furthest. That's what I normally do. Whoever's come the furthest, I'll just stay behind them. So. Just do whatever works for you. Enjoy it, have fun. It's not serious. Well, it is a serious issue, but you can have fun with it as well.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's just about meeting up with your local members and forming a support group and supporting each other through your learning, you don't have to feel like you have to teach them or bring the information to them. Just discussing it and just sort of raising interest. And you
can have a little cinema evening, a little showing of the straw man, followed by cocktail. I don't know, you could do anything, as long as you're getting the best.
Yeah. Hey, we've actually got, Stacey, if you ever need it, we've actually got a projector with a screen and everything, not a screen, but a fabric screen, because I bought it last year to actually sit outside with the kids and have a cinema night outside in the garden, but it hasn't worked out that way. So if you need anything like that, we could actually bring that.
And you can actually use a USB to load it on and then play the entire thing.
Right, maybe we should do stuff like that. Maybe
we could do a drive-in cinema thing.
Are you in a pub? You're in a pub? You're not in a pub?
No, there's a spare room.
No, this was this.
Obsessed with pubs.
We were DC before we were Marvel.
So is anyone got any more questions? Because we'll just wrap up now. Been going for a while.
Can we do?
Have you got any questions, Bernard?
Bernie, no, I mean, this is the first time I'm on here. I without going into the detail, I'm a whistleblower. I'm an ex-hospital inspector who's tried to keep alive in certainly the last couple of years, having had police threatening me and all that kind of stuff. And I disclosed on the web 2 days ago, name names, because I wanted to move forward. But I've been trying to find a way through this. Looked at common law, obviously found your site. Hello, you still there?
Yeah.
Hello? Oh yeah, sorry. So I found your site. I just want to learn as much as possible and I went down to a protest in Liverpool yesterday, met Piers Corbyn. There's all these, as you say, it's who do you trust? But yeah, I want to learn as much as possible and put things on locally. I mean, I've done lots of presentations in the past, but I'm a survivor, and I want to do what's necessary.
When it comes down to it, the only person you can trust is yourself, and it's like you need to, you know, if you're interested in a process, you need to read through it and educate yourself on it so you can decide.
Absolutely.
I mean, I
Well, I'm pleased to come across your site and or your Facebook page, and I'm gonna.
You know, the law's on our side, and we've got a focus and a sort of strategy, albeit that it's not really quite there yet, if you know what I mean. But the ideas and the law's there that actually demands it, not just allows it, but demands that we actually use it in that way. So it sort of inspires a bit of confidence in that respect, that in essence it can't be denied. Obviously they will try and deny it, but it does, you know, it does make you feel more empowered that there is that law on your side. I know I feel more empowered knowing that I've got that backing, if you know what I mean, and I can be confident in it. But I spent weeks, I wasn't just going to believe a bunch of strangers on the internet, you know, I spent weeks reading, questioning, plenty of time doubting. But the more I read, and particularly when I listened to David Robinson's videos, because he comes across as somebody who's like, you know, just a guy with like honesty and integrity, who genuinely wants a fair system of governance for everybody. He just wants to see justice done and the country to be run as it ought to be, which, you know, you don't really find that, do you? I mean, he doesn't, you know, he's not asking.
No, I mean, the interesting thing is I know the system inside out, and I felt like I was missing something, and this is it. So I wanna, you know, go away from this.
Always suspected that I should have a say in how the country's run and the rules that I'm governed by.
You should.
Yeah, it should have all been within our control. So.
Do you know what we were saying before about friends? Oh, Gavin's still there. Like, you give up on some people. Well, I was about to give up on a friend. She just messaged me. I've not heard from her in about 6 months, maybe longer. Just messaged me saying, I'm up for the 24th. Let me know where.
Nice. Yeah.
Say people are just some people.
Hold on, Stacey. Sorry, Stacey. Sorry.
What?
Sorry, Stacey. Can you say that again, Stacey? Because you broke up as you were saying that.
No, it's what we were saying before about friends, and you know, you lose some and get rid of others. So I was thinking, you know, I've lost a load of friends. One girl in particular, I've not seen her since Christmas. I probably spoke to maybe 6 months ago, maybe longer, before the lockdown. She's just messaged me now, Julie. Yeah. I'm up for the 24th. Let me know where. She's coming to. So
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's how it works. You leave them to it, and you know, they see things happen. She can obviously see you do stuff. Thinks, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I'm sat here fucking scared of the telly, watching the telly, and she's getting out there doing stuff. And that's how I found, because like I say, it being to conspiracy theories, I used to get a lot. You try to tell your mates, and they'd be like, you just getting an argument. And I found, like, just looking after myself and doing my own thing, you actually, like you say, creates ripples. So you then start, obviously, you know, although I might be able to get my close friends involved, but if they see me doing things, posting on and see things happening, they'll obviously think, oh, I might pop down.
I think I don't do conspiracy theory.
And that's ripples.
I'm not interested. I've not even looked at 5G or flat Earth or anything. I'm not interested in anything I can't prove. Like, this seems to be working for me. I can prove the data because I've got all the. I spoke to the NHS, got all the data off the government website. I just go facts, figures, data. Show me what I can see. Does it feel right? Fine. Not interested in conspiracy. Don't even know about 5G yet. Don't even start me on that. I've never gone down that road. I don't even think I want to. But
oh no, same. It just gets. That just gets.
At the very least, it's not been researched. The safety hasn't been researched as much as it should have done.
Yeah.
At the very least. So, and scientists are right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't look into that sort of stuff because it can be so damning when you get into it, and it's about you're looking at problems. You're not going to get anywhere. You just need a solution.
Knowing about it doesn't. Well, being aware of it, fine, but going into it in any detail, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
You do need
Exactly. Yeah. I agree.
Unite people, all focus together on that solution and bring it to fruition. So it's having a common focus and a common goal, and you know, sort of concentrating on your learning journey. So and planting seeds, like you say, so that you're there to support other people and welcome them to your journey when they're ready.
Yeah, you don't even need to know what's going on.
Definitely.
People think, oh, just if I share this, then at least we know.
Oh no, I don't.
You don't need to know what they've got. You're manifesting it. Do you know about manifestation? They'll put us an idea, and then all the people.
Yeah. Well,
what are you doing?
That does.
Jesus. But yeah, solutions. We only.
Yeah. But doesn't that's the same thing where like, well, I don't know if you. I think you spoke to Tom Barnett about the art.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So it's just about the remedy. If people are.
Oh, you're breaking up.
I think you're breaking up, aren't you? Are we breaking up?
No, I think he's stalling a bit there.
Oh, okay, cool. Right, we'll wrap it up there.
You froze a bit.
If anyone's got any questions, just drop me a PM or WhatsApp you got a number or whatever.
Good stuff.
Stuck on the group.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
Good luck. If you need us, give us a shout. Oh, we're doing live link Friday. We're doing live link. Nothing to you, aren't we? We'll do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. Nice.
I am now worried now with that laugh. That was sinister.
See you, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Brilliant.
Bye.